Chapter 77, The First Princess Trip Part 2. Over here. The princess said while showing me the way to the ice cream stall. I almost killed her by reflex when I bumped into her a while back, but I'm glad I was able to stop myself. Important NPC. Name, Fear von Hermagnell V.15. Karma, 55 slightly good. Class, Princess. Status, Normal. Remarks. Kingdom of Hermagn, First Princess. Kingdom of Hermagn, third in line of succession. She's a useful girl for sure. It would definitely be a waste to throw her away now. She will at the very least make things more interesting than if I just killed the crown prince. Excuse me, could you give me an ice cream? Fira said to the granny that owned the stall. Oh, of course. Wait, you're already back? The granny replied. I'm giving her a new one because I accidentally bumped into her and made her lose her ice cream. I explained. I see, you're a really kind lass. The granny said, and then gave another ice cream to the princess. Here you go. Thank you. The princess exclaimed, then turned towards me. Let me show you around the city. I'll be in your care. I replied. I didn't particularly care about the city tour, but I used this opportunity to inspect the terrain, the equipment of the guards, their numbers and the areas they patrol. This is the capital's Fountain Plaza, one of the things we're most proud of. The statue in the middle is that of the first queen, Marcy. The princess opened her arms wide to show it off. It's beautiful, isn't it, Rena? Yu said. Whoa. Maria said in awe. I murmured. It is certainly beautiful, but I don't see what's so impressive about it. I suppose I should play along with them regardless. It's certainly quite lively and wonderful. I hope this kind of bland commentary would be enough. I haven't gone sightseeing tourist spots like an ordinary person before, so I'm not quite sure how to behave. It is, isn't it? Dad is amazing. Everyone is smiling after all. The princess exclaimed. A dad. She surely likes him, huh? I see. I replied. I'm really proud of being part of my family. She said with a big smile. So they're family. Of course, you have a wonderful father, don't you? I said. Why, young lady? The princess maid suddenly shouted. The princess turned towards her and tilted her head. What's wrong, Annabella? No, it's nothing. She replied, but her gaze was not directed towards the princess, but to me. Seems like I messed up and let my emotions leak out. The maid must have sensed my bloodlust. What a bother. Is something wrong, Rena? Yu asked. It's nothing, let's see the next spot. I said to both him and the princess. Let's just make them forget about it by continuing the trip. Oh my, what good timing, what might that be? I said while pointing to a weird place. At first it felt like nothing, but one of my skills noticed that there was definitely something hidden there. Huh? And nothing. There is nothing over there. Let's keep going. The princess hurriedly said and gestured for us to follow her. Then let's try using a skill to analyze that place. Just what might you be doing? Her maid asked me. Nothing in particular. I replied, though I was already done with it. Is that so? She said. She's certainly sharp, but she was too slow to notice. In this time I could get the information that this is a secret passage that connects directly to the royal castle, and is of exclusive use of the royal family. I suppose it can't be helped that she is suspicious of me after me noticing the passage and my previous blunder as well. Such a bother. Annabella's point of view. That woman is dangerous. Something was really off about her when Her Highness was talking about His Majesty in the plaza. In particular, my malice sensor skill flared up in response to all the negative emotions that emitted from her. This is the store that makes my clothes. Her Highness said while pointing to it. The woman barely reacted to it. She doesn't seem particularly interested in this tour. Rather, she seems to be inspecting every nook and cranny of the city on her own. Could she be a spy of the Empire? It would make sense when considering she even found the secret passage that led to the royal castle. Danger. Her expressionless eyes stared at me for a moment and it completely paralyzed me. How can someone make such a cold gaze? Rena, what's wrong? The man that accompanied her asked. Well, I'm just in a bit of a bad mood. She replied. Oh, I see. The man answered. The two people accompanying her must be unaware of this woman's true nature. They're both virtuous people that have no malice in them. If I were to try getting that woman away from Her Highness, they'd probably interfere with good intentions. Yet I have to somehow get her away from Her Highness. But how to do that without being suspicious? Especially with how much of a liking Her Highness took to this woman. She's so interested in this mysterious Japan country that the woman keeps talking about. I've never even heard of this country's existence. Sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to talk with her for a bit. The woman suddenly said while pointing at me. With me? I asked just to be sure. Indeed. She replied. Just what is she planning? I can't accept this. I need to bring Her Highness back to the castle right now, and I need to make sure they don't follow us. She approached me and whispered in my ear, if you don't come, this will be the end of the princess' life. Why did I let Her Highness come here? Why did I let her bump into this woman? She has been so lonely these past few days due to how little opportunities she has had to spend some time together with His Majesty. I pitied her situation and thought that it would be fine to let her have a change of pace. What a grave mistake. I should have never given in to her request. Your Highness. For a little while. Just for a small bit. Please wait, alright? I told her gently. Annabella? She seemed worried. I think I let my anxiety leak out from my tone. I'll be back soon, okay? I told her with a reassuring smile. She doesn't need to worry about anything, it's alright like this. You, Maria, please protect the girl in the meanwhile. This won't take long. The woman told her companions. Alright. The boy said, while the girl stayed silent. He seemed confused, while she seemed to be thinking about something. I'd like to tell them to use this opportunity to escape, but I don't have any way of doing so. It's a pity. Shall we go? The woman asked. Alright. I replied, and went into an alley together with her. Your Highness, I enjoyed each moment with you. Please grow up as a splendid woman. Chapter 78, The Maid's Will. Annabella's point of view. That woman took me away from Her Highness and into a back alley. I tried to make a surprise attack against her back a few times as she walked, but each time she just turned around and gave me a warm gaze. It's impossible after all. How far are you planning to go? I asked her. I wonder how far would be good enough? She answered vaguely. To think that she not only had such negative emotions on her, but she also knew that Her Highness was the princess from the get-go. I have to protect Her Highness. Are you doing this because His Highness Gerald offered you money? I asked her. Maybe I could try offering more to save Her Highness. Jew? She seemed confused, so it's probably not that. Well, then I suppose I should at least try buying some time. Maybe Her Highness will notice something is wrong and escape if I end up taking long. Then, as unlikely as it might be, could it be His Highness Jillian's fault? I asked her. She seemed equally confused by the statement, as expected. I wonder if this woman's companions would help Her Highness. There are wild factors to this matter. They might be able to help her now that they're separated, but not if they are unaware of this woman's true nature. However, I don't think they'd be willing to harm children, even if she is royalty. Hopefully that might be enough to save her. Then, could you be an agent of the Empire? I asked her. Empire? Ah. I wasn't sure what to take of this answer. But considering what happened to the frontier city, it shouldn't be hard for them to infiltrate the kingdom. Wasn't the Empire supposed to stay quiet for a few more years? She asked. What's that even supposed to mean? The Empire was going to stay quiet? I asked her back. I think so. She answered. It's hard to read her, she's always so expressionless. And she doesn't talk much to boot. Still, she seems to be planning to at least kidnap Her Highness. This is a heavy burden for a maid, but I will have to stop you somehow. Then, why are you even doing this? I asked her. Because it's interesting. She answered instantly. I suppose I shouldn't have expected you to answer seriously. Although I guess this situation would be interested for the Empire. Well, I guess it's fine over here. She said and stopped moving. Seems like this is it. I wonder what will happen to me now. Can you cooperate with me? Or at least not be a hindrance? She asked directly. I cannot betray Her Highness. I answered. Is that so? She said, and then the alley went silent. Until she charged at me, that is. I tried stabbing her with my hidden knife, but she dodged it, stopped her charge, held my wrist and twisted it, forcing me to drop the knife. As I screamed in pain, she kicked my belly, then my knees, and then grabbed my neck and hit my face against the wall. Do you understand the difference in our power now? She said. It's frustrating, but painfully obvious that she was right. She didn't even pull out her weapons, nor did she show any expression whatsoever. I suppose I do. I answered her. Then, don't she started speaking. Don't underestimate Her Highness maid. I made a strong push against the wall, enough to make her let go of me and gain some distance. "You still haven't given up yet?" she asked. I giggled a bit before answering, "How about this?" I understood she was just playing around, that she wasn't really trying to kill me, but still. I need to make a stand here, to buy more time for Her Highness. "Body enhancement, maid's manners," I started. "Oh, so maids can also use those." She said something strange, but I ignored it and focused on the strengthening instead. "Soul elevation, maid's dignity like this, I should be able to earn a bit more time, even if just a bit, so, what next?" she asked me. "How about this?" I shouted. "I don't think I can win like this, but still. I'll do everything I can." I charged at her. She grabbed my head, hit it on the ground, picked my knife from the ground and put it near my neck while forcing me to look up. "Are you satisfied now?" she asked. "I'm sorry, Your Highness. This is a disgrace. I should be protecting you, yet I'm only being trampled upon. I'm sorry. And yet. This is my win." Chapter 79, The Maid's Will Part 2. The maid started laughing. "What's so funny?" I asked her. "Her Highness is a wonderful person," she replied. "Is she just saying random things now? Though I suppose it's fine like this too, absolute loyalty, royal guard," she shouted. "This isn't interesting," I replied. "Why does that child love and trust this woman so much? Why did this woman try fighting when she knew it was impossible to win? And why does that child adore her father?" "You seem troubled," the maid said. I didn't reply. Instead, I grabbed her arm, twisted it, and then kicked it, completely breaking it down. She held back her voice, but she was obviously in pain. I kicked her chin, and then her neck, making her fly into the wall. She made a small moan of pain this time around. I grabbed her by her ponytail, kicked her abdomen, then stabbed her broken arm. She now shouted from pain. I held her open mouth with my fingers and slammed her head into the ground by pulling her lower jaw down. She could barely make a sound this time around. Then, I put my foot on her head and started putting more and more pressure in it. Her pain shout was pretty loud this time around. Her head started sinking into the ground, cracking it. "So, have you given up now?" I asked her. She tried saying something, but what came out was unintelligible. I eased the pressure on her head a bit to let her speak. She panted for a bit before replying, "Just who will? Give up? That's a pity. Though you're aware I can just run after the princess and kill her once I'm done with you, right?" I told her. She started laughing. I wondered why, so I kicked her head with enough strength to send her flying. "What's so funny?" I asked her again. That is." She slowly got up, somehow with a fearless smile on her face, and continued, "Because Her Highness is smart. She surely noticed there was something amiss in our last conversation." "What about it?" I asked her, though I already knew where she was going. "Her Highness must have already found an excuse to move away from your companions and ran away. Even if you kill me, she should already be in one of the multiple secret passages that only the royal family know of," she explained. "So, you were laughing because you succeeded in buying time for her?" I said. "That's pretty much gaw," she started saying, but I kicked her belly with my knee to interrupt her. "Well, then here are some good news for you." Her pained face seemed suspicious of me, but she's probably happy inside as she is in theory buying more time with this conversation. "I actually had no plans of killing your precious princess." She opened her eyes wide. That seemed to surprise her. But it was true, I did think the princess was going to run away, especially after I discovered the hidden passage that led to the royal castle. She seemed to be smart for her age after all. Moreover, differently from her mostly expressionless maid, the princess was very expressive. It was easy to notice when she started getting wary. "Now here are some bad news for you," I said while showing her a thread that was connected to my finger. "What do you think this strand is connected to?" It can't be." She finally started panicking. There was no way I would have left the princess without preparing anything. I couldn't simply leave her with you and Maria after all. The former is unreliable, and I can't trust the latter one just yet. Moreover, this was more convenient than explaining the plan to them. "Correct, it's attached to the princess. And now, she'll guide me directly to the insides of the royal castle by showing me how to traverse the secret passage. Thank you for your time." Such a pity, isn't it? That Her Highness, the princess, will lose her father and will have none but herself to blame. I told her. The maid started screaming in despair. I kicked her belly again and made her fly away. "Well, what are you going to do now?" Buy more time? I asked her. She took a deep breath and started saying, "Oath, I am the one with absolute. I won't let you," I said as I kicked her belly again, taking the air out of her lungs. Seems like she decided to try a desperate move now that she realized that buying time is worthless, but that's still futile. "Oath, I gaw." She tried continuing, but I kicked her again. "You should give up," I said. "I wonder how long will it take for the princess to arrive at the castle. I'd like it if she moved directly towards the king." "I am the one with absolute loyalty," she tried to say, but I stopped her again. "Really now?" I told her. "The hidden passage seems to be a complicated maze. The princess has been moved around the same area for a while now." "And devotion," she shouted. "Oh? That was surprising. To think one can keep chanting an oath even after being interrupted multiple times. That's a new discovery. Not that it matters though. Oath, I'm the one who, without expecting any compensation." She was starting to annoy me, so I tied a thread around her ankle and used it to throw her at the wall. "Can she give up now?" She spit some blood and said, "Oath, I'm the one who, without expecting any compensation." Gah. Why is that girl loved by someone who is not her mother? Why does she adore her father? Why is this maid so motherly? This is somehow very annoying. Chapter 80, The Maid's Will Part 3. The maid was panting. "You finally gave up?" I asked her, who could hardly stand on her own. "I'll repeat it as many times as needed. Just who will give up?" she answered. "Is that so? Why does she love the princess so much? How can she possibly care for her this much without being her mother?" She took a deep breath and said, "Oath, I'm the one who, without expecting any compensation." Jaya. "You really won't live much longer if you keep this up," I told her as I hanged her upside down with a thread that I had tied around her ankle. She coughed blood a few times before being able to reply. "Oh, you're worried about me?" she asked sarcastically. "I just want you to surrender," I told her. She is no mother, yet she has such affection for the princess. Why? It's not right. She's not her mother. "Give all of my A." As she continued her chant, I punched her defenseless stomach. "You're persistent," I told her as I broke her ribs with my punches. She shouted in pain, yet refused to give up. "It's frustrating." "Oath. Without compensation. Give all. Love." She shouted. "You really finished it, important NPC. Name, Annabella Verdi LV.45 plus 30. Karma, 15 neutral. Class, Royal Maid, 2nd class, Gardener, 3rd class, Royal Guard. Status. Devotion, HP recovers at a rate of 2%/5s for as long as you're fighting against one specific opponent. Maid's Manners, INT increase, extra large, AG increase, extra large. Maid's Dignity, STR increase, max, Dex increase, extra large. Royal Guard, VIT increase, extra large, max HP increase, large. Oath, Absolute Loyalty, INT increase, max, Dex increase, max, constant HP decrease, 3%/1s. Remarks. Second daughter of Marquis Verdi. Exclusive maid of the first princess. Loves without expecting compensation. As she finished it, she tried to attack me with a hidden knife, but I parried it with my fist and kicked her face. She refused to give up however, and used the knife to cut the thread around her ankle, got a bit of distance, and then started using magic, pure light barrage. I had to block her attack with a wall made by mixing black magic and bright magic. Though I wonder if it's alright for her to use such a big spell in this narrow alley. Is she trying to call for reinforcements? Moreover, she somehow kept attacking me with her knife while her magic was active. It was an impressive skill set for a maid. I kept parrying the attacks anyways though. "Your HP won't last much longer," I told her. Then, as soon as there was a small break on her magic barrage, I rushed forward, dodged her knife, and tied her up with my threads, preventing her from moving. "So even this isn't enough?" she said. "Have you finally ran out of tricks?" I asked her. "You're almost dying." "I'm aware," she replied. "Any last words?" I asked. And somehow, she still resisted by trying to stab me with a knife while being tangled up, but I parried it. "I'll still listen to her last will though." "Your Highness, please grow up as a cheerful and splendid." She tried to say more, but she started coughing blood. "I got it," I answered her. And then, she shouted and jumped towards my neck, biting it with all her might. "What the? Why won't you give up even in the face of death?" I shouted as I punched her face over and over again, breaking bones, spilling blood everyone, dyeing her skin red. Until, eventually, she fell. She did not stop until she died. She kept fighting until the very end. Even Alexei and Ronov gave up when faced with the inevitable end, but she just wouldn't stop. I even lost a lot of HP because she was fighting a vital area. She really used the entirety of her life for the princess, in the truest sense of the word. Why couldn't she just give up? She wasn't her mother. It would have been quicker if she had just given up. Even gaining time was pointless, so why did she keep trying? To the point of even using oaths? I don't get it. Though I'm not as annoyed as I was before. I suppose I should chase the princess now. I should at least deliver this maid's last words for her. Chapter 81, Mission Start. Your level has increased. You earned skill points. Your karma has dropped significantly. The level of existing skills has increased. The level of your servants has risen. After burning the maid's corpse, I left the back alley and reunited with Yu and Maria. I'm back. I told them. Ah, nah. Yu said. His tone was a bit weird. Are you alright? Maria asked with a concerned tone. What are you talking about? I asked them. Why are those two suddenly showing worry for me? Was my annoyance showing on my face? Well, whatever. The princess escaped safely, right? I asked them. Princess? Both of them asked me at the same time. The ice cream girl. I told them. Princess? They said once more. Seems like they don't use detection too often. They should make a habit of it. It's better to be sure of other people's identity, even if they sometimes use means of protecting themselves from this kind of skill. In any case, I've tied a thread to her, so let's follow her trail. I said. Sure. Yu said half-heartedly. Ah, I guess I'm getting used to this already. Maria said. Coming to think of it though, those two have high karma. It would be a waste to make them accompany me and lower it down. They have better uses than that. Actually, please get in my way instead. I told them. What do you mean? Yu asked. I've come up with a fun plan, so let's go with that. It would be a shame if you two lowered your karma by helping me out. Your karmas are pretty high after all. I started explaining. They both tilted their heads in unison as I said that, which was a bit interesting. They seemed to be quite in sync. Think of it as a game of tag. If you are able to stop me, then I'll hear one request of. I'm in. They both said instantly, without even letting me finish my phrase. I see. Though I'll only hear one request, alright? I clarified. It was surprising how fast they bit into it. I wondered if they just liked playing tag. Let me be the one chasing next time then. It's alright, you'll definitely hear my request. Yu said. What? Differently from you, I'm a pure person, so I should be the one asking her. Maria told him. A pure stalker. He murmured. I'm a guardian, not a stalker. She exclaimed. You wanna give it a go? They both said in unison. I wondered what those two were talking about. Will someone die if I don't do anything? I have been with Rena for longer. Yu said. But it's not even been a whole year. Maria told him. Moreover, you two haven't even added each other as friends yet, so the gap between you and me is unsurmountable. Yu continued. Maria made a weird noise. I wonder what should I do. I have no clue what they are talking about, but maybe I should stop them. Though this is interesting, and a good opportunity to understand what a normal friend is. Give it up, you blockhead. Yu told her. Your mother is obese. Maria suddenly said. What? She's thin. Yu replied. And I saw your father at a brothel. Maria continued. So that's the kind of lie you're gonna spout? You lewd girl that keeps looking at the covers of adult books each time you go to Kumukit, even though you aren't even allowed in that section. Yu suddenly said something mysterious. I can go. I'm an adult lady. She told him. Is this what a quarrel between normal friends is supposed to look like? The level of the discussion seems to be going lower and lower though. You say that even though you blush even from normal kissing scenes in anime? Yu said. As if you're one to talk when your eyes get bloodshot as soon as some panties are shown in an anime, you pervert. Maria exclaimed. Just what are you saying in front of Rena? Yu suddenly mentioned my name. I've told you before, haven't I? Maria replied with a confusing statement. It seems they both like anime. I wonder if I should see some myself. Mom did say that it would be hard to get friends with the same hobbies I have, so perhaps I should try getting into theirs. Stupid, stupid, stupid. They both called one another, blockhead, bird brain. They kept exchanging this kind of statement. They said in unison. I suppose I should stop them now, I can't keep looking at this. Are we in agreement then? I asked. Why yes. They both replied. At the same time, they also straightened their posture for some reason. Let's just ignore that and move on. I'll be doing big things from now on. I told them. Big? You said something I couldn't quite hear. Hey, just where are you looking at, Oda? Maria murmured something while hitting Yu with her elbow. Nowhere. Yu replied in a tone that I couldn't hear either. I wonder if this kind of aggressive behavior is normal between friends. Please stop it, you two. I told them, so that they could properly focus on our game. As soon as we split up, I'll start following the princess inside the castle. The two of you can use whatever means you can think of in order to stop me. Got it. How are we even supposed to stop you though? Maria asked. Since our karma is high, maybe we can convince the gatekeepers to help us out. That would be tough. Yu commented. This should help you out a bit, make good use of it. I said, and then gave them an expensive dagger. What's that? Maria asked. A thing I stole from the temple of the beginner's city. I explained. They both went silent after I said that. I couldn't see much worth on it at first, but as my detection level went up, I found out that this is a special dagger that is only given to church members of the rank of bishop or higher. Its power should be directly proportional to how high the karma of the wielder is. It's something given only to high clergy members, but you two should be able to use it as well. I told them. That's definitely a rare relic. Yu whispered something I couldn't hear. Is it really alright? Won't we be cursed for using that? Maria replied in a whisper too. Well, it's fine like this. Let's start. I told them and ran off. Wait. Yu shouted. We're screwed. Maria exclaimed. Ignoring them both, I rushed after the princess. Please do entertain me. Chapter 82, Infiltration. I followed the thread tied to the princess into a dark underground passage, pushed a loose wall out of the way, went down the stairs, fell into a hole, ran around a pillar 5 times, climbed the stairs that came out once I did that, and then moved through a side hole that went through a waterway. It is certainly quite the complicated path. I would definitely be lost without the thread. Yu says that complicated maps are good game design though, so I suppose it's a nice thing that the path is this confusing. It probably won't be long before Yu arrives at the castle. That's not important though. I rolled up the curtain ahead of me and gently pushed the mirror behind it. Behind the mirror was a luxurious room that probably belonged to a member of the royal family. The secret entrance was disguised as a shelf, which should be good enough to fool most people. In any case, the princess had yet to arrive at the target room, so I needed to waste some time. I decided to explore the current room while I waited. I started by picking up some books from the shelves since they could contain some useful knowledge, which would definitely make Yu happy. I wonder if giving it out would be a friendly interaction like what he has with Maria, though then I might need to threaten him like she does. Let's threaten him then. I also stole some jewelry and an accessory that had some pretty good stats. It did feel like I had fallen to the level of a common thief, though I suppose it didn't matter much when considering how much slaughter I cause. Rather than being a murderer or a thief, I'm just playing and having fun, so it's no big deal. Oh. The princess reached her destination, let's get moving. As I left the room, I noticed there was a pair of nearby guards. The path ahead was a long corridor that was hard to hide in, so it seemed like I didn't have much choice, but to help them die. I strangled one of them with my darkness thread, then pierced the heart of the other. I wouldn't want them to disappear just yet as it could cause suspicion, so I used my thread to make them stand in place and look like they were doing their job. Anyone that got close would realize that they were dead, but this should buy enough time. Their posture made me remember the strange poses that Yu sometimes did. He's an interesting person who always makes exaggerated movements and reactions. Let's leave that thought at that and get back to the mission. After a small walk, I reached the door to the king's office. There were guards on the way, and they seemed to be stronger than the last ones, but that's still not an issue. The princess is behind this door and the king should be too, so it should be alright to make a ruckus. I threw an explosive at the door. The guards tried to protect themselves with their shields, but the explosion was big enough to blow out the room's entrance and create a huge cloud of smoke. While they were blinded by it, I decapitated both and entered the room. Though I coughed a bit from the smoke, I should be more careful with the size of the explosives I use indoors. Why you are? The princess started saying. Hey, princess. It's been a while. I replied to her. She opened her mouth agape and showed me an astonished expression, but made no reply. And near her, there was an aged man. Are you this country's king? I asked him. What if I am? He asked back. He was a bit snarky considering his current circumstances. What did you do with Annabella? The princess asked, interrupting our conversation. I killed her, of course. I replied. It can't be. She seemed in disbelief, though she should be aware of this possibility already, otherwise she wouldn't have fled. Either way, she started crying. Well, for now, let me secure you. I pulled the princess closer with my thread and tied her up. I wondered if she was crying because of the maid's death, or due to the current situation she was in. It truly seems like there is no humanity within you. You are definitely a messenger of chaos, for no agent of the Empire would be this heartless. The king said, I don't want to hear that from you. I told him. I believe I have the right to insult monsters. He replied. To think he is willing to curse even in his current situation. Are you sure about that? Your life might last less if you maintain this behavior. I told him. I must warn you that the soldiers will soon be here. He said. So? I asked back. Take my life if you wish, but don't expect to easily escape this place. He clarified. Aren't you afraid to die? I asked him. Aren't you worried about the chaos that will follow after your death? It can't be helped at this point. He simply replied, quite detached, aren't you? I said in response. Well, if you think like that, then let me add one condition. He said. What is it? I asked. I wondered if he was leading me towards this on purpose. Could you leave my daughter unharmed? He made his request. Is she important to you? I asked. But of course, there are no parents who dislike their children. He said. I stayed silent. He really thought that there were no parents who disliked their children? So even though they were royalty, they were still a normal family? I really hated this. Your statement aside, I have no intentions of harming the princess. I told him. That's enough. My daughter's happiness is my happiness, as her father he was saying, but I didn't want to hear the rest, so I cut his head off. Let's go, princess. I told her, though she couldn't really reply. Taking the princess with me, I picked the king's head, then made a quick stop at the crown prince's room to get his royal jeweled ring, and after that I started making a run to escape the castle. Chapter 83, Explosive Escape. Just as I was about to start running away with the princess, I remembered that I needed to tell her something. Your maid left a last will, please grow up as a cheerful and splendid person. When the princess heard that, she started crying even more than before. I'm not very good with children, so it was a bit bothersome to have her behave like that. Oh well, let's go. I said and started running. The princess was glaring at me with a face that was reddened by tears, but I ignored her. Make some chaos, everyone. I told my familiars, who instantly started throwing high-level magic left and right. I also started throwing explosives around the castle, creating loud explosions, breaking multiple walls and causing damage to multiple rooms. What's happening? One guard shouted. Let's hurry. Another said. Is His Majesty safe? A third one exclaimed. By making this much noise, you and Maria should probably understand that the king is already dead and will probably react appropriately. The gagged princess tried to say something, but I couldn't really understand anything. This won't last much longer, so please be a bit more patient, alright? After telling her that, I kept on moving while ignoring her protests. Stop! A guard yelled. Why, Your Highness? Another said as he noticed who I was carrying. I used my threads to quickly cut off the limbs of the guards that tried getting in my way and continued moving. They shouted in pain as they realized what just happened to them, but I ignored that. Rather, I was more curious to see if I could still gain experience from this battle even though I gained some levels just a small while back from killing the maid. Maybe there is a time lag that stops it from happening. Let's use this as an experiment and kill as many as possible in the meanwhile. How dare you cause all this commotion? One guard said. Release the princess at once. Another shouted. If you take one more step, a third one started saying, but I threw a bunch of explosives at them with meteor shower and blew them all up. Moreover, the explosion was big enough to blow up a good portion of the castle's walls, allowing me to see the clear sky ahead of me. Seems like a good opportunity. Be careful to not bite your tongue, alright? I told the princess as I moved towards the hole. She probably wouldn't be able to bite her tongue with the gag on though. She did try to make some sort of reply anyways, but I couldn't understand it. As I jumped outside, I threw more explosives around to create more chaos, and to change my momentum midair so as to not freefall all the way to the ground. Then, some arrows started raining down from above. Is it really okay to attack me like that while I hold the princess? I wondered out loud as I blocked them. Perhaps some of the factions within the castle don't mind hurting her due to the internal conflict for the succession of the throne. Well, for now, let me return the favor. Retreat. The commander of the bowmen shouted, but a bit too late. I had already thrown an explosive above them, and its explosion threw multiple iron scraps everywhere, killing many of them. Moreover, the scraps hit the threads I prepared in advance and started throwing bodies of the guards left and right, killing any survivors. Now for the finishing touches. After landing safely, I quickly ran to the second prince's room that I had identified in my initial infiltration, and left the crown prince's ring and the king's head there. Hopefully this will make them suspicious of him and increase the internal tensions on the palace. Their numbers are surely increasing. As I ran through the front yard and towards the castle gate, I could see at least 100 guards coming after me. But where are you and Maria? They didn't try to stop me at all. Oh my. The drawbridge that led to the castle was being lifted. They were reacting quickly, all right. But not fast enough. I threw explosives at the machinery that lifted the bridge and made it stop functioning. She is too fast. A guard shouted. Goodbye. I told them while running up the bridge, then I threw 2 big explosives behind me. Their explosion created a large amount of destruction while also pushing me forward. I used that momentum to jump high enough to pass through the moat even if the bridge was already half lifted. Now, please endure it for just a while longer. I told the princess after we safely landed. She didn't reply though. Oh. Apparently she fainted at some point. I didn't know exactly when, but it'll be easier to carry her around if she doesn't struggle anyways, so I tied her to my back and continued to run away. Chapter 84, The Person That I Didn't Want to Meet. Renspov, the man that Rena put in control of the beginner's city. Boss. I mean, my lord, this is the tax revenue for this term. One of my subordinates, who was previously part of the Moonlight Gang, handed me some documents. It's about time you get used to it, isn't it? I told him, I'm sorry. He apologized. Though it's not like I can't understand how he feels, even I wasn't used to it at first. Just remembering that abominable woman makes my stomach hurt. I really shouldn't have to feel like this after getting this kind of dream job. Oh, I see? That dread voice resounded throughout this room. An unnatural outworldly scream came out of my mouth when hearing it. This can't be real, it has to be a lie. Hey, you can't simply approach the Lord like that. My subordinate said. I appreciate his dedication, but everything might come to ruin if he makes this kind of careless statement. You still remember who made you Lord, right? The abomination said, I do. I replied. I really did not ever wish to see this monster again. Please sit down. I asked her. She did not hesitate and sat in front of me. And together with her, was a tied-up girl that clearly looked like a noble. My stomach hurts. May I ask you a question before you tell me why you're here? I asked her. What is it? She replied. Who is this girl? I was afraid of hearing the answer, but it was better to hear it early. She's the first princess of this country. She told me bluntly. The first princess is tied up. Wait, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I told her. Well, being the first princess means she started saying, but I cut her. Not that. I don't understand why the first princess is here. I had a horrible feeling about this. Because I tied her up and brought her here? She said, please bring me my stomach medicine. I told my subordinate. Yes, sir. He replied and immediately left the room. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath to try relaxing while I waited for my subordinate to come back. I really can't deal with this woman who absolutely lacks any semblance of common sense. So you have stomach problems, Ren? Will you be alright? She asked me. I thank you for your concern, I replied. Was she being sarcastic or is she just unaware that she is the cause of my stomach problems? I brought it, boss. My subordinate said as he came back. Thanks, I'm saved. I commented. That looks like some medicine that will put you in danger, you know. That woman said while giggling. The only thing in danger is my sanity. I answered as I swallowed 3 pills of the medicine all at once. So, what's next? I asked her. I will hand the princess over to the Empire. Please help with the negotiations and prepare yourselves in case they try attacking. She said some unbelievable words there. I'm sorry? I think I should have cleaned my ears before coming to work today. I'm sure I misheard something absolutely outrageous. She giggled. I don't like repeating myself. Oh, of course. There's no need to. Just what am I even supposed to do now? Can you at least explain the circumstances to me? Well, I happened to find the crown prince perchance, so I tried killing him. She did what? But he escaped, and I thought it wouldn't be fun to simply kill him after that. Of course, fun. So in order to make things more interesting, I killed the king in a way that would increase the tensions between both princes, and then I also kidnapped the princess. I see. Bring my some headache medicine, please. I told my subordinate. Yes, sir. He replied and instantly left. Just what am I even supposed to do here? I was just a local gangster until a small while ago, and now I'm not only a city lord, but one that needs to deal with this kind of madness? My head is about to explode. As I thought that, my subordinate came back with the medicine and I gulped 3 pills of it too. Alright, so. Anything else? I asked the woman. Be quick about it, for the princess will stay here until negotiations are finished. She demanded. Understood. I replied. Also, don't give her directly to the emperor. Give her to an extremist general instead. She continued. It's useless to try convincing you otherwise, isn't it? I asked just in case. It is useless. She replied. I see. This will almost guaranteedly start a war. The city will be thrown in chaos. Oh, and while I'm here, I'll pick a room for myself, alright? She concluded. By all means go ahead. I weakly replied. She giggled. Oh my, aren't you so magnanimous? Could you at least let the room's furniture stay there? I asked her. What are you talking about? There's no way I'd ever do anything to it. She said innocently. Of course. The monster left with this unbelievable sentence. I really didn't want to ever see her again. Boss. My subordinate tried to console me. I really didn't want to meet her. I said out loud. It was a rough day. He commented. I just want to throw away all work and go sleep now. Chapter 85, Things You Shouldn't Mess With. What do you intend to do with me? The princess suddenly said. It's been 3 days since I kidnapped her, but that's the first time she said anything. I wonder what changed her mind to make her open mouth. Well, that depends on what the Empire wants to do with you. I replied. Will you really sell me to the Empire? She asked. I mean, why not? And I may not know what they'll do with you, but I can make some guesses. Like holding her hostage while warring against this kingdom, forcing her to give birth to a child in order to justify the union of both countries. Among other options. Do you want to hear them? Have you ever heard that you lack humanity? That annoying girl asked. Your point being? I asked back. I did hear things like monster and lack of humanity, but why is she suddenly bringing that up? Can you even look your parents in the eye? She said. You do well to be an obedient girl and shut up now. I replied. My dad is a wonderful ruler. But yours? He's just crap, isn't he? She said. Oh, he certainly is. I agreed. After all, that man that I am related by blood to has only kept me around because of my talents. I wouldn't even be allowed to talk to people otherwise. I see. She said. My mom was very kind, you know. She always listened to my worries and cheered me up when I was feeling down. I didn't reply. What is she getting at? What about your mother? Could she properly listen to you? Could she properly cheer you up? You really should shut up. Of course she listened to me and cheered me up. And yet, with you like this, it's obvious that your mother was a failure at educating you. She said what? Shut up. Mom didn't fail. She couldn't teach her daughter, nor stop her when she was doing something wrong. That brat said. Shut up. I shouted as I grabbed her neck and threw her on the floor with just enough strength to not kill her. I firmly held her neck while pointing my short sword directly at her face. She coughed once, then said, So that's your weakness, huh? I did not reply, but I stomped her back. She made a small scream of pain, but then continued, What about Annabella? Did she resemble your mother perchance? She's not my mother. They're definitely different. They may have a few similarities though. Maybe she might have been able to grow close to Mom if she was alive. Is this what this girl is trying to imply? She giggled. Your probably dead mother is certainly crying right now. Die. I swung my short sword at her hateful smile. Eh? A dull sound echoed in the room. What are you doing? Even though I aimed it at the prince's face, the short sword hit the floor instead. Yamada. It bit me. First an NPC and now my servant bit me. But thanks to that, I was able to calm down a bit. I'll forgive you this once. Though you'll still go to the furnace as punishment. Yamada was clearly desperate, but I ignored it. It's useless to resist. I turned back towards the silent princess who seemed absolutely clueless about what had just happened. And kicked Yamada away as a small punishment. I'll send him to a proper blacksmith later. I've changed my mind. I told her. What do you mean? She asked. I won't sell you to the Empire. I replied. What are you going to do then? She said. She seemed worried. Rightfully so. There's no way I'm going to simply sell her after she annoyed me this much. I'll declare war against the Empire by using your name. I told her. What? That's a nice reaction. I giggled. You were the last person that your father, the king, met. Soon after, you declared war on the Empire. I wonder what will be left in the historical records of the kingdom about you. Stop it. She begged. Let's see. She killed her father, the king, and pretended to be a victim. She fueled the political conflict between both princes, delaying the coronation of the next king, and used that time to invade the empire. What else? Maybe she could have complained about her rights to the throne being low due to her gender? It's not a bad tale. The stigma of killing her father, the deadly sin of putting the kingdom in a war against a nation as strong as the empire. I wonder what will be told of the princess mother, the queen? I continued. Please stop it. She said again. It really isn't hard to tamper history when you're making it. Historians won't have enough material to judge the truth behind things, and they'll just explain things by blaming it on human stupidity. Oh, and the maid who suddenly disappeared without a trace. Could she have been sacrificed for the sake of the prince's dark ambitions? Or maybe she was the one that pushed the princess in that direction in the first place. I said. I'm really sorry. Please stop this. The tied-up princess begged as she lowered her head to the floor and started sobbing. You know, my mother taught me about what to do when someone apologized to me. What do you think she said? I asked her, could you please forgive me? She asked back. She doesn't understand it, so she can say this kind of unreasonable thing, but still. Mom told me that, even if the other person apologizes, if I'm not convinced that they're sorry, if I still can't forgive them, if I don't feel better about the matter, then I don't need to force myself forgive them. I explained. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She tried to speak, but only sobs and tears left her. I personally think that it's a really arrogant notion to assume that one can be forgiven just by apologizing, don't you agree? I asked her. And, while using her tears and sobs as background music, I started planning the war out. Chapter 86, Unexpected Hindrances. In the day following the one I talked with the princess, I went to Ren's place early in the morning and told him about the change in plans. I'd usually be at school at this hour, but it was closed today, so I had some extra time. Are you serious? Ren asked. Yes, I will start a war. I replied. Why are you doing this again? He asked. You really want me to explain myself? I told him. No, it's fine like this. He hastily said. I see. I wondered why he seemed so scared. Was my face that frightening? I think it's a pretty clean face, just like Mom's. I'm just a bit worried. He commented. About what? I asked. It's just. Who are we even going to talk to in order to declare the war? The Emperor? He asked back. Who will be least impacted by his death? I asked him. His reaction was strange though. I'm letting him decide on things, but instead of finding a solution, he keeps holding his head while thinking of something. He even gives this kind of reaction when I make simple questions about what we're eating for dinner today. Oh well, it doesn't matter either way. If you can't think of anyone, just go for the person with the highest position available. It just keeps getting worse. He then asked his subordinate to fetch some stomachache and headache medicine. He really asks for those a lot. Is there something that's bothering you? I asked. Before he could answer though, one of his subordinates barged into the room while shouting, "Enemies are attacking us." What the? Ren shouted in response. That's weird, we didn't contact the Empire yet, so they shouldn't have attacked us, yet I can't think of any other force that would start an attack. The kingdom's government should be in turmoil and unable to properly organize a rescue operation in this little time. Even their battalion near the frontier is gone now, so what could they possibly do? The person making the announcement clarified before I asked, "Sir, the enemies are migrants, though we do not know the size of their full force just yet." Migrants? Ren asked in disbelief. So the players are the ones attacking us. Could this be because they're trying to restore the order in this city? I suppose it would make sense when considering that the Order faction is the biggest one. They have also made an announcement: "We will not forgive the ones who created chaos in the kingdom and kidnapped the princess." That's all that they said, sir. The subordinate continued. Really now? Ren seemed troubled. But I started giggling. That's Yu's and Maria's doing, isn't it? No wonder they didn't interfere with me when I was in the castle. They were gathering the forces of the players. I started laughing out loud. Did she break? Ren asked, but I ignored it. I finally understood it after all. Yu wouldn't be able to be this bold, so this must be Maria's doing. Yu might still be cooperating from the shadows, but he wouldn't be able to talk directly to the top players, so this must be her doing. Isn't this joyful? I asked Ren. Of course, you have always been broken. He replied. Let's ignore that and focus on the matter at hand. For now, I should try thinking of what they would be aiming for. Their victory should come if they save the princess, obviously. Though it would be enough to just kill Ren, since he is the one that is controlling this city right now. However, it would be a real shame to lose this puppet that I obtain with much effort. I won't be able to play with the princess just yet, but that doesn't matter. Let's try thinking of how to make the attackers lose instead. Well, I guess we just need to wipe them out or make them lose enough morale to flee. Ain't I actually in quite the disadvantage here? It would be easier if I had the initiative, but now that they're already attacking, my movements are quite constrained. Well, let's use the entire army under my command now. I said, can you even give them proper orders? To think we'd fight such a deadly battle for the sake of a member of the royal family. Ren asked with teary eyes, while trying to organize a defense plan with our troops. Maria's puff, hey, I do really need to give a speech? I asked Yu. Well, you were the one that called them. He replied. I mean, I did use the forums to call as many players as possible, so as to make an event that would entertain Miss Ikijuji to the fullest, but still. I'm also a person that lives in the shadows, you know. I told him. So it's fine if you don't entertain Rena? He asked me. You sure hit low. That Oda, he really doesn't hold back at all sometimes. Though right now he seemed to be trembling just from the presence of all those players that will soon be paying attention to us. It's the first time I see him like that. I guess it can't be helped that he can't make the speech himself. Even though he can easily speak non-stop when talking about otaku matters. Well, I'll make sure that your voice can reach everyone, so leave it to me. He said proudly. You'll be using party magic and Damas magic, right? I asked him. That, and also the broadcast spell from public magic that I learned recently. He replied, your skills are way too weird. I told him. He is always unpredictable when playing games, but that's why it doesn't get boring to be near him, so it's not really a problem. I took a deep breath and then asked him, well, you're coming too, right? Roger. He said as he accompanied me while I climbed to the top of the podium. A bunch of players turned their attention to us all at once. It was a bit scary, but for the sake of entertaining Miss Ikijuji, I'll do my best. Thank you all for coming here. I told them. Your voice is too loud. A player said. Tone it down. Another said. So annoying. I'm not used to using this kind of magic. Let's not bother with them and focus. Focus. Everyone knows why we're here, to get revenge against the genocider. Is that even doable? Someone said. Well, we should just enjoy it. Another said. It should be fine even if we lose. A third one said. Of course, Miss Ikijuji achievements are nothing short of amazing. It's no wonder that it became common sense that she is invincible, so everyone is just taking things easy. But it's no good like this, I'm serious. I told them. I didn't shout, but I tried my best to convey my feelings to them. They went silent. They must have noticed my will and stopped talking to each other and stared directly at me. Their gaze gave me goosebumps, but I had to persevere here. I could not lose here. I'll say it one more. I'm serious. They remained silent. You all think that you can't beat the genocider, don't you? They seem to be silently agreeing. Ridiculous. You're just preserving yourselves behind some silly excuse, saying that it can't be helped if you lose again. You're so afraid of her, that you already gave up on winning before you even started fighting. What? Finally some reaction. Why are you making them angry? Yu whispered to me in a hurry, but I ignored him. There's no point in saying that they should just do their best. If I want to get some serious entertainment for Misakijuji, then I need to pull them in properly. It can't be helped that you're scared of a newbie who created such a chaos right at the beginning of the game even though she had no experience from the beta whatsoever. They stayed silent, but they were paying attention to me. It can't be helped that you're scared of a person that defeated strong NPCs like Alexei while also repeatedly beating the top players of the game. Their stares were making me feel ill. I can't stop now, I need to continue. It can't be helped that I lost. She's just invincible. That's how you think of her, isn't it? You kidding me? A player shouted. Did you call us here just to annoy us? Another shouted. They're finally getting angry. That's how it should be. Too many of you died in the first official event of the game. Only Han's party was able to put up a fight. I told them all, well. Yeah? One said. What were we even supposed to do there? Another said. Too many people already lost to Misakijuji. They're starting to realize that all of them want the same thing. Now to finish it, I'll say it once more. I'm serious. They went silent. Don't you want to break her myth of invincibility? Don't you want to show the might of the Order faction? Don't you want to regain your pride as the top players of this game? Don't you want to stop making excuses for yourselves? To step on their pride as gamers, that's the only way to bring out their full potential, to make them go all out, to give Misakijuji the entertainment she deserves. Alright, what are we doing? Someone seemed motivated. Is there some secret plan that will make us win? Another was a bit doubtful. I can't guarantee that it will work. I told them honestly. Wait, isn't it impossible then? They're losing morale. We're just gonna lose again. Really quickly. But hear me out. They went silent. This is the critical moment. I need to show them that my confidence doesn't come from nothing, that they do not need to be afraid. The genocider may be great at mass slaughter, but she is not that good at defending, or at least she has never shown to be. I got their attention. Think about it. How do we win this battle? We need to either save the princess, or to defeat the puppet lord that rules this city. We can win. The wide area of this mansion is hard to defend, and Misakijuji can't cover it all by herself. They should be able to understand this much. What's the biggest faction in this game? Order. We are the overwhelming majority. Numbers are power. We are strong. Show her the difference between one's power and the power of the collective. Here is a declaration of war against the genocider. Here is a war for revenge. Show her that we can win. Show her your pride as gamers. Show. What is order to this world? This feels horrible. I'm about to vomit. I'm not the kind of person that is suited to making speeches. I must have made something terrible in my previous life to accumulate enough bad karma to make me do this. However, it was worth it. They all shouted in unison, a strong-willed shout as they charged towards the mansion. Meanwhile, I got off the podium and let my weight fall loose on top of Oda. I'm gonna puke. I really pushed myself way too much over there. Yeah, you did well. He said while patting me. It was a relief that I could watch from the sidelines as they all charged towards the mansion. I'm sure Misakijuji will be entertained by this. Chapter 87, Good and Evil Role Reversal. The attackers are now the defenders. Attack. A player shouted. Defend. I shouted to my troops, as giving orders to them made them affected by my command skill. It wasn't as effective as when I directed my servants, but it was still useful nonetheless. Why are those NPCs so strong? A player said. Shouldn't they be just a bunch of gangsters? Another exclaimed. I also made my servants buff the troops, which might not be as effective as if they buffed only one person, but it was still helpful. Retreat if you're at less than 30% HP. Groups 1 to 3, move forward. A player commanded. Genocider, please command me. A weird player said. Do you want us to lose? Another shouted at this weird one. Ignoring those two, I focused on the battle at hand. It should be a given that they not only have people with buffing skills, but also people with command skills. When pairing that up with the difference in numbers, our position ends up being pretty disadvantageous. However, did you all drink the antidotes I gave you? I'm gonna throw that thing. I asked to the troops nearby. Yes. They shouted. What's she going to do? A player asked as I threw an explosive in the middle of the player group. It not only spread a bunch of iron scraps, but also released a colored poisonous smoke. Jaya. A player shouted. Genocide poison. Another said. Try finding a way to make an antidote with magic. Another gave an order. Just what is genocide poison? Did the poisons I made have such a name? That's the first I heard of it. Let's ask you later. For the time being though, let's kill the person trying to cure the poison by throwing an iron scrap at them. I can't let them recover this easily after all. Damn it. A player shouted. Can we try waiting until it passes? A player asked. Impossible. This is Geno poison. Another player answered. Damn it all. The asker shouted. So genocide poison can be abbreviated as Geno poison then. It doesn't matter, let's keep on killing the healers. Commander. A player shouted as their commander died. Stop the Geno Ga. A player said as he died. What the? Another player exclaimed. As the players had pointed out, this mansion was primarily occupied by gangsters. It should be no surprise that we had quite a few assassins that could sneak behind the enemy lines and kill their leaders. Dirty tricks. A player shouted. Someone with good detection abilities pinpoint the location of the assassins. Another said. No, you stupid. The genocider will just snipe whoever tries. Another player exclaimed. Such a shame, they didn't let me know which were the priority targets, so I had to make do with killing whoever seemed to stand out the most. Groups 1 to 3 retreat. Groups 4 to 6, move forward. A player shouted and was soon after killed by a flying iron scrap. Each time someone gave orders, I killed them soon after, making the remaining ones hesitate on acting and therefore not being as efficient as they could. Damn it. We're being pushed back. A player shouted. I know that much. Another said. Will we be alright? A third one exclaimed. How long will it take? A fourth one said. Seems like they're waiting for something. Though that's fine with me, as I used that time to finish wrapping my threads around their legs and pulling it up in one go. Dozens of players started screaming as they were lifted high in the air, parts of their bodies started being cut and falling off on top of their allies, creating a messy meat shower. Everyone, attack! I ordered. My troops shouted in unison and rushed forward, while the opponents staggered back. The players at the front had to try doing the job of a tank, but the actual tanks were already dead, so the remaining ones weren't the best for it. Moreover, the poison weakened them and they were also worried about the assassins and my sniping attacks, which made their defense against our charge disastrous. Ma'am. There are reinforcements arriving to back those troops up. A subordinate told me. It doesn't matter. Just keep killing them and reducing the enemy's strength. I replied. Yes ma'am. He said as he went back to his duties. That's how it should be. Please keep on using all your forces without holding back, please come at me with all your might. It won't be entertaining otherwise. On that note, it should be about time for the... Ma'am. The back door has been breached. A messenger said. Just as expected, they did break through our barricade. It was made in a hurry, so it couldn't be helped that it didn't last long, but it's alright because we planned for that too. Tell the troops at the back door that things are going as expected in this front, and that they should move just as we planned. I told him. Yes ma'am. He said as he left. The troops on the back will be fighting a slow retreating battle, never pushing forward, and instead slowly luring the enemies deeper within our territory. I wonder how you and Maria will react to that. I'm looking forward to their next surprise. Chapter 88, Good and Evil Role Reversal. The attackers are now the defenders. Part 2. Maria's Pov. The battle has been going on for a while in the vicinity of the mansion's main gate. We have an overwhelming advantage in numbers, and the players are considerably stronger than the NPCs of the beginner's city, so this should have been in our favor, but Miss Ikijuji's commanding, paired up with her poison, sniping, deadly threads and the assassin squad has proven to be incredibly efficient at hampering our attack. Moreover, since they own this city, they control the supply of potions and we are unable to restock here. Meanwhile, they not only must have had a stockpile of them already, but Miss Ikijuji probably crafted a few more in the time she was there. Maria, we broke through the gate in the back. One of our scouts told me. Great. Let's charge in from that front while maintaining the pressure on the main gate. I replied. Yes ma'am. He replied and went back to his duties. Then, please take care of things over here, adjutant. I told Sumeragi, the leader of the Imperial Holy Knights. Alright, should I just follow the plans that we went over before? He asked me for confirmation. Yes. I'll be off now. I replied and went towards the back, together with Oda. Maria, will you join the fray now? Oda asked as we ran. I wasn't planning on participating, But I figured I'd rather do something too instead of leaving it for everyone else. I replied. Well, I can understand how you feel. He said as we ran and beat up some NPCs that tried to stop us. I didn't expect it to be very hard to go through them, but it was a lot easier than expected due to Oda's support. His weird spells are incredibly effective. Like this, we quickly reached the players that were near the back door, and saw that the NPCs inside seemed to be purposefully retreating. Why aren't them trying to stand their ground or push us away? I wondered out loud. It's probably a trap, isn't it? Oda commented. Just what could be the purpose of leading us not only close to our goal, but also to slowly reduce their retreat margin? We'll follow the plan. Aim for the princess and the puppet lord. At the same time, direct a squad to their storages to plunder their potions and whatever other useful things you may find. I told some nearby commanders. It is most likely a trap, but we don't have the time to analyze it. Besides, I'm sure that if she was in my position, Miss Ikijuji would say something like, "You can't enjoy it if you don't take some risks, right? There are no normal girls around me, are there?" Oda commented when seeing me smile as I thought of Miss Ikijuji. I decided to ignore him and focus on the task at hand. "Make way, everyone. I'll open a path for us," I said. "What are you going to do?" a soldier asked. I ignored him. "You, support me," I told him. Got it," he replied and gave me even more support spells. It's amazing that he has more buffs than even the supports of the top teams. If only his skills weren't so weird. "Buddha's possession, fire heaven," I chanted. "Eh? You got an advanced class?" A nearby player was in disbelief. "But that doesn't match our discoveries so far," another said. Plenty of them seemed to be astonished by this, though it's no surprise. Everyone thought you needed at least 200 karma value to get the advanced class, but it's actually enough to be at 150 or neutral and achieve a special condition. Though I was surprised when I found out that the condition was fulfilled because I had a chance meeting with the God of Order. This kind of absurd condition is so unlikely to happen that I guess not even the absolutely inviolable area had something like it. Unshakable misguided love, ideal woman, I chanted next. Race, human. Name, Maria LV. 61 plus 15. Karma, 156 good. Class, Light Priestess, 2nd class, Saint, 3rd class, Holy Mother. Devotion, HP recovers at a rate of 2%/5s for as long as you're fighting against one specific opponent. Fire Heaven, STR increase, extra large, INT increase, extra large, fire attribute to attacks, max, fire damage increase, max. Ideal Woman, INT increase, extra large, dex increase, extra large, light attribute to attacks, max, light damage increase, max. Attributes granted to attacks, fire, max, fire, extra large, fire, medium, fire, small, fire, very small, light, max, light, extra large, light, medium, light, small, light, very small. Blazing Charge, fire attribute to attacks, medium, attack power increase, medium. Flame Ward, increased fire resistance, medium, increased defense, medium. Holy Might, light attribute to attacks, medium, attack power increase, medium. Holy Protection, increased light resistance, medium, increased defense, medium. Enhancements, STR increase, extra large, VIT increase, extra large, AG increase, extra large, INT increase, extra large, Dex increase, extra large. Enhancements, slash, large, blunt, large, accuracy, large, dodge, large, and now, I finished buffing up, so it's time to go all out. Garv's, Sun God whose power comes from the great seven-colored god. My faith in you asks to be rewarded, please destroy your enemies and protect this humble lamb of yours, Maria. Your blessing. A player shouted. He'd better run. Please give it to me, I finished chanting. Evacuate. Evacuate. More shouted. Otherwise. Sun's wrath, they might get caught up and die too. Chapter 89, Good and Evil Role Reversal. The attackers are now the defenders. Part 3. That was quite the explosion. I said to nobody in particular. Even though the explosion happened far away, probably at the back door, a very powerful heat wave and a deafening sound reached us all the way here, in the main gate. It staggered everyone in the surroundings and even blew off the poisonous gas. I suppose I should do something about that, Adjutant. I'll be going to check what happened, so take over the command of the main gate forces. I told an officer of the Moonlight family that was by Ren's side when we first met. Before he could make a reply, I threw some poisonous bombs towards the players again, gave a few more bombs to the officer, and left towards Ren's office. I wasn't planning on going there this early, but it can't be helped that the plans changed after this kind of explosion. As I arrived there, I called, "Ren, are you alright, by the grace of the gods?" He replied. He was clearly tired and was holding his head while hiding below his desk. He needs to be more energetic. "You don't seem alright." "Well, that's fine." I told him, "By the grace of the gods." He repeated. Ignoring these words, I took him with me and started moving towards the room that the princess was imprisoned in. In the meantime, I heard multiple explosions echoing through the mansion. "Those are quite a few explosions. Are you okay, Ren?" I asked him just to be sure, "By the grace of the gods." He said again. Did he turn into a bot due to excessive fear? We arrived at the princess' room while I thought of such things. "Princess, are you safe?" I asked her. She did not reply and instead just glared at me. It's quite surprising that she still has the will to glare at me after all that happened. She is quite the interesting girl. It's good that you're well. By the way, lots of people are dying for your sake right now, TSK. She gave a small reply before I tied her up, tied her to my back too, and then covered her over with my cloak that is possessed by Azabu. As expected though, she did give a reaction when I told her about the people that died for her. She definitely feels guilty about it. Now, let's prepare for the ending. "Ren!" I shouted as I pulled him by the collar. He made a strange frog-like noise, but I ignored it, because muscle power. The perverted gentleman rushed near us with a punch that would definitely obliterate Ren if he had stayed there for a second more. "Ah, I'm glad to see you again," he said. I didn't reply. I still felt uncomfortable near this guy. Instead, I just told him, "Shouldn't you just go your way? His appearance is not one that is suited for children after all, so he should be kept away from the princess. It would be nice if he just stuck to his gentlemanly ways and left." TSK, you don't understand, do you?" he said while raising his index finger and moving it left and right. "Don't understand what?" I asked him. "You cannot be orderly by being indifferent to others' cries for help," he said. "Huh? What is he even talking about?" Indeed. If one refuses to help others, he will end up either being neutral or chaotic. The only way to maintain order is to eliminate the sources of problems by helping those in need. He preached. I decided to just attack him, but he parried my short sword with his fist. Also, helping others out is part of the path of the gentleman. Do you know why? "I don't know," I said as blocked one of his attacks that tried to smash Ren's head, and then jumped backwards when he tried to take the princess away from me. "Because both helping others and being a gentleman are." As he replied, he used a long-range skill with his fist, which I had to dodge while pulling Ren along. I tried counter-attacking with a poison needle, but it wasn't able to penetrate his chest. Why is his skin so hard? Axe made for one's own selfish satisfaction. Oath, I am the one who crushes those who deny my path. As he started chanting his oaths, he tried landing a dropkick at Ren, so I had to jump away again. His strikes are surely causing quite the damage to this mansion. Oath, I'm the one who never betrays those that reaffirm their own paths now, genocider. "No, Lena," he started saying something, but I ignored him. "Ren, are you still alive?" I asked, since he didn't seem to be even trying to avoid the blows aimed at him. "I'm unsure," he replied. "He seems fine." "Should I save you too?" the pervert asked. I was confused by this question. Just what was he talking about? "Your circumstances may be abnormal, but I cannot allow a woman like you to fall in this place. You're really bothersome, you know that?" I replied as he deflected one of my kicks with his elbows, and then tried to punch my face, that I dodged with a spinning jump. He laughed. "Well, please forgive me, for that is my nature. Just what is your point?" I asked him. "A gentleman will always help little girls who are in trouble," he shouted as he charged towards me with a punch towards my belly, but I parried it with my short sword and the hot sever-range skill, trying to destroy his fist. So he was talking about the princess all along? Why did he mention me first then? "Well, you must be quite happy for having this many people loving you, aren't you, princess?" I asked her. "I'm not happy," she replied. She must have been so shocked by this guy and our exchange just now that she decided to actually make a reply. How amusing. Chapter 90, Good and Evil Role Reversal. The attackers are now the defenders. Part 4. You Uzpov, maybe I overdid it. Maria commented. Yeah. Maybe. I replied as I watched the destruction she caused. She not only destroyed a huge part of the mansion, but she also created a huge crater and evaporated a bunch of NPCs. Even the nearby players that weren't hit directly still ended up getting burned to some extent. So this is what happens when you're killed by a thermonuclear weapon. I commented. To think even the ground would melt. Maria said. It is quite unbelievable that she'd make even the ground hot enough to deal damage to whoever stepped on it. The nearby players seem to still be astonished by it, as I can hear comments like, she must be from Genocider's family tree, or how about calling her Destroyer? And the Burning Saintess maybe? Or perhaps Destroyer Priestess? They really should worry about this kind of thing later. Well, oops. Maria said with a face that wasn't apologetic in the slightest. For now, let's try cooling things down in order to move forward. I replied. Maria agreed. While the nearby players were having some heated discussions, and some even fighting with one another, I focused on the task at hand. I used the water supply skill of the public magic tree, together with the infrastructure improvement, air conditioner and year-end rush spells of the engineering magic tree. All that together quickly created a path that we could step on. That's you of the variety show, all right. A player said. No wonder he was able to escape from over 100 generers after the event. Another player said. He's a rare asset that has been recognized both by generers and by the anti-genociders. A third one commented. I don't know even half of the spells he uses. Another one commented. Couldn't he just use normal water magic for that though? A fifth one said. Come on, didn't everyone agree to not mention this kind of thing? The sixth one said. Can I cry now? I'm remembering the time that I kept running from the generers. Even when I thought I had found a nice player willing to help me, it was still just a generer in disguise. They were basically indistinguishable from everyone else, so I just had to keep running from everyone. That's a nightmare I didn't want to remember. I'm going to cry. I said to nobody in particular. There, don't take their words to heart. Maria replied. I guess I should leave that be. I replied. Coming to think of it, even Maria said stuff like this guy is surprisingly weak when we first started playing together. But now that I have some fame, people started to avoid talking about alternative options to my spells because they work out in one way or another, so I guess it feels weird for them to complain about my kit. Okay, I'm over it, let's get going. Alright, we should try joining forces with everyone soon. Maria said, though can those people even work together? I wondered. They all have such unique habits and personalities. They're probably better off working independently, I think. Then let's just move along as originally planned. Maria decided. It's probably for the best to pretend that they aren't around. I replied. For now, we should send the players to loot their warehouses to restock our supply of potions. Hopefully this will give us enough of an advantage to defeat the puppet lord and rescue the princess. Even the former guards of the mansion, from the time before the coup, are cooperating, so things should go well on that end. Though we need to keep a low profile in order to avoid too many complications. Alright, let's go. Maria shouted. Though don't go too wild. I told her. We'll totally die if she uses a wide area spell inside the mansion after all. I know that much. Now follow me. She told me as she charged inside through the back door, and I went along. There weren't many people in our way, but two guards tried to stop us. They weren't much of an issue after I staggered them with the error in energy distribution skill from the public magic tree though. I also used Dam and Liquefy to make walls and turn them into liquid, blocking their way, and then making them unable to move properly and slowly get swallowed by the now muddy ground. Gross. Maria said. I don't want to hear you of all people say that. I replied. She melts incoming soldiers after all, I just buried them in the ground, it's not that bad. Muscle power. We suddenly heard a shout. Oh my. Maria was a bit startled. That's the perverted gentleman. I commented. He must have found either Rena, the princess, or the puppet lord. It's better to not interfere as he's the kind of person that just follows his own path. Hurry up. Maria said. I nodded and followed her. Rena had told us to please get in my way, so she is probably planning something pretty bad for the princess. We can't hold back here. More guards tried to stop us, but I used the siren skill of the public magic tree to call an ambulance and ram them over. Your skills really make no sense. Maria said. Ignoring her though, I set up the toxic Twitter and lewd brat spells behind us so that we wouldn't be chased. I guess I'll take it how the battle is going. She mentioned. I'll check the draft of your Genocide once the battle ends, alright? I told her. It wouldn't be alright if Rena was defeated while we weren't nearby, right? Maria wondered, ignoring me. You aren't worried about her winning? I asked. I wonder if it would be alright for me to sleep next to Rena after this. She wondered out loud, ignoring me again. Just where is your mind going? I replied. Well, you know. I was just. Well. She was stuttering a lot. Well, it's alright, you should get better after a small break. I sighed. Ah, just what is happening to me? I'm imagining so many things. She replied. Seriously now? I sighed again. To think that while we're so close to a fierce battle, she started thinking of this kind of thing. Hey, Oda. She suddenly sounded serious and anxious. What is it? I asked back. I've just raised some death flags. She said. I know. I replied. How could she possibly start thinking about possible happy futures in this kind of situation? Doesn't she know anything? We both started laughing out loud while moving towards the danger zone. Chapter 91, Good and Evil Role Reversal. The attackers are now the defenders. Part 5. The pervert made a weird noise after fighting for a while. It wasn't too hard to guess why, but I asked just in case. It's about time, isn't it? He should soon be dying from the health penalties that come from the oath skill. It was easy to stall until this happened, as he couldn't go all out against me due to fear of harming the princess, so protecting Ren and myself was mostly trivial. Just like before, my feelings don't seem to be reaching you properly. He said some nonsense, as usual. Well, then. Let's wrap this, I started saying, but was interrupted by Extra Tear Heal Maria casting a healing spell on the pervert. You'll cooperate now, won't you? You asked the pervert. Yeah, don't just go dying on your own. Maria complimented. It's about time those two arrived, I was waiting for them for a while and now. I got it. I'll cooperate. The pervert seemed to be a bit frustrated as he said these words. Judging by their exchange, it seems like the pervert arrived earlier than their plan. It's fine like this though, so let's just keep going. Alright, Rena. Are you ready? Yu asked. He seemed to be excited for something, which was quite the rare sight. Miss Ichi. Rena, I'm gonna make a request after winning, okay? Maria said as they both raised their weapons. Yu's was a small wand, while Maria's staff was bigger than her. Body and weapon become one. Maria used a skill unique to the advanced class. Defective broadcast. Yu used another one of his weird skills. I didn't understand what it did at first, but then my vision became blurry and I could only see a notice of connection problems in front of me. It's pretty much the same as fighting blindfolded. I'll need to take this seriously if I am to fight all three of them at once. Body enhancement, slaughterer's organs, devilish telepathy, self-alteration, evil medicine. Maria also started using buffs, full resonance, mother's devotion, divine verdict, heathen annihilation, widespread blessing, blazing charge, flame ward, high enchantment, glorious prominence, high enchantment, light's devotion. And Yu followed suit, overwhelmingly buffed, widespread blessing, high enchantment, physical might, high enchantment, physical barrier, high enchantment, accelerate, high enchantment, intelligence. And even the pervert had some to use, masochist tendency, high enchantment, sacred ocean build-up. Once everyone finished buffing up, they started attacking again. I couldn't see properly, so I had to rely primarily on my tamed monsters to dodge their attacks, though I also started spreading out some threads in the battlefield in order to be able to react to their movements as they moved through them. Heatray Maria tried to hit me, but Santa made me duck. Quintuple dark blue attack. Yu used some weird magic, but in no way made me jump away from it. The pervert also tried hitting me with quadruple flame slash, but I was able to sense his movement with the threads and dodged it with the stream skill. Hey, Yu. Isn't she supposed to be blind right now? Maria asked him. She should be. He replied nervously. The pervert laughed. Now isn't this fun? I dodged incoming attacks while carrying the princess on my back and wrapping Ren in threads, so that I could easily move him. The pervert tried to punch me, but I parried his blow with my right hand, then grabbed his elbow with my left one and pushed him towards the wall. Tear healing, Maria shouted, healing the pervert again. Immediately after, she also started a new spell, light up the skies. Adding fuel to the fire. Yu used another weird spell, but my servants made it quite clear that Maria was making a fireball that started growing up quickly after Yu used his skill. What will you do now? The pervert asked cheerfully. possession magic, I replied. Here goes, hydrogen bomb, Yu said as the fireball was thrown. Eh? Was the pervert's reaction as he saw it coming for him. They really couldn't predict the possession magic, and as such I was able to endure the powerful blast due to the high defensive power of the pervert gentleman. However, the spell was still very painful and hurt a lot, enough that I couldn't maintain the possession until the end and was partially affected by the spell, which burned quite a bit of skin and made any blood on the ground evaporate. Ren and the princess were safe though. But to think Maria is not only a great support, but also someone with an incredibly high firepower. That's troublesome. That said, both me and the pervert survived the attack, and the smoke created by it gave me enough time to set up more threads to read their movements better. Time for a comeback. Once the smoke cleared out and the pervert attacked, I could duck below his kick, grab his leg, and throw him towards Maria, who was already casting another spell. The pervert, who was hit by another strong spell, just laughed it off. Though, isn't this fun? He asked nobody in particular. We're not gonna lose. Maria replied. How about this? Tax evasion. Yu used another weird spell. Just like before, they tried to attack me as a team, but even though I still couldn't see, I could react better to their movements now, so I dodged a punch from the pervert and rushed straight to Maria. I tried beheading her, but she blocked my short sword with her cane. Not letting go of the opportunity though, I kicked her ribs and sent her flying. The pervert threw a dive kick towards me. I jumped away from it while throwing multiple poisonous needles towards Yu, and then threw some explosives towards Maria and Yu with high meteor. They were able to dodge the explosion and start a counterattack however, so I grabbed the pervert and threw him towards Maria, who dodged him. She tried making a downward swing with her cane, but I parried it with my left hand, then kicked her chin. I was going to behead her after that, but Yu threw some hot water that forced me to jump back. Not without throwing more poisonous needles towards those two though. Then, the pervert used a roundhouse kick to try hitting me. I jumped over it and let him hit the wall, breaking it. At that point his leg got stuck to the wall. Oh no, he started saying as I beheaded him. Then I kicked his head towards Maria, who was running my way, cut the pervert's stuck leg off, filled the rest of his body with explosives, and threw it towards Yu. Ah, sorry. Maria shouted as she hit the pervert's head with her cane. Wall off the world, Yu shouted to protect them both from the explosion. Well, only the two of you left now. I told them. Yeah. Yu replied. Seems like it. Maria said. Their replies made them seem like they were troubled, but they both seemed to be smiling. Well, guess I'm not the only one having fun here. I wonder what will they do next. I won't lose. Maria exclaimed. We won't give up until the end. Yu also said. This really is quite fun. I might listen to their request even if they lose. Chapter 92, Good and Evil Role Reversal. The attackers are now the defenders. Part 6. Maria's Pov. Oath, I am the one who looks at the one I love. As I stared at Miss Akijuji's beautiful smile, I decided to use my trump card while Oda bought some time for me to chant it. Oath, I am the one who supports the one I love. Race, human. Name, Maria LV.61 plus 30. Karma, 156 good. Class, Light Priestess. Second class, Saint. Third class, Holy Mother. Devotion, HP recovers at a rate of 2%/5s for as long as you're fighting against one specific opponent. Fire Heaven, STR increase, extra large, INT increase, extra large, fire attribute to attacks, max, fire damage increase, max. Ideal Woman, INT increase, extra large, dex increase, extra large, light attribute to attacks, max, light damage increase, max. Body and Weapon as 1, STR increase, extra large, INT increase, extra large, magic damage increase, max, grants a chance of randomly activating offensive spells when attacking with your weapon. Mother's Devotion, all stats increased, small, strengthening enhancement efficiency increased, large, continuous HP recovery, medium. Heathen Annihilation, all stats increased, small, continuous HP recovery, medium, increased damaged in proportion to how low the karma of the enemy is, large. Attributes granted to attacks, fire, max, fire, extra large, fire, large, fire, medium, fire, small, fire, very small, light, max, light, extra large, light, medium, light, small, light, very small. Blazing Charge, fire attribute to attacks, medium, Attack power increase, medium. Flame ward, increased fire resistance, medium, increased defense, medium. Holy might, light attribute to attacks, medium, attack power increase, medium. Holy protection, increased light resistance, medium, increased defense, medium. Enhancements, STR increase, extra large, VIT increase, extra large, AG increase, extra large, INT increase, extra large, Dex increase, extra large. Enhancements, slash, large, blunt, large, accuracy, large, dodge, large. Oath, love and protection, STR increase, max, INT increase, max, continuous HP degeneration, 3%/1s, there's no holding back now. I'll do my utmost to defeat Misakijuji, save the princess and defeat the puppet lord. For that is what will entertain Misakijuji the most. Enjoy it until next time. Oda used another weird support spell. Shining Staff. I used another buff and charged towards Misakijuji while hoping that the 1 in 7 chance of casting a random spell when attacking could turn the tides in our favor. I tried swinging down my staff at her, but she deflected it with her threads and then tried to hit me with the pommel of her short sword, but I sidestepped to dodge it. Misakijuji giggled. "This is fun, isn't it?" she asked us as she twisted her body around to dodge an attack of my staff. Her innocent laugh is too precious. "It is. You think so too, right, Oda?" I replied to her. He laughed and said, "It is indeed. I'm having so much fun that even I am surprised by it." Calling for help from the seniors. Why are his spells so weird? A big guy in a school uniform appeared out of nowhere and hit Misakijuji before she could react. Misakijuji didn't seem to be fazed by it much though. She just got up and said, "Yu is full of surprises, isn't he?" "Well, not that many," he replied. "Oda, you'll regret this later," I told him. "What? Why?" he shouted in return. "Because your stupid spell ruined the nice mood I had going with Misakijuji. And it was mostly useless too, as she already destroyed the senior and was now trying to hit me with a short sword again. I did a backstep to dodge it, and then ducked to dodge the incoming poisonous needles. That were followed by explosives. Oda stopped them with duet of flames, but as expected, they released a poisonous gas as they exploded. Oda also got rid of those too by using air purifier and spring cleaning though. Good one, Oda," I shouted. Then, I asked Misakijuji, "Are you entertained?" "I'm entertained," she replied with a precious smile as she rushed towards me. Before she arrived, I hit my staff on the ground to help me jump high enough to land behind Misakijuji, and then tried to hit her back with it. However, she spun to dodge it and almost beheaded me with her short sword, but I ducked in the last second. I hurriedly tried to regain my posture, but she stepped on my foot, kicked my chin, grabbed my arm, and threw me towards Oda, who promptly used a healing spell on me. After groaning a bit and getting up, I figured I should ask him something, though I dreaded the answer. "Hey, Oda. How is your MP right now?" "It's about to run out," he answered. "Same," I replied. It's unusual for MP to run out before the HP in one-on-one battles, but recovery, buffs and support skills in general are in high demand when fighting Misakijuji, so it couldn't be helped. Though it's still amazing to think we're the cornered ones while also being the ones with more levels and buffs on us. Well, Misakijuji, it unfortunately seems that we'll have to move to the grand finale. "It's a shame, but it's alright. I got plenty of enjoyment already," she replied while still smiling. "I'm tired," the worm called Oda said, "so let's ignore it and instead focus on Misakijuji. She still needs to protect the princess, so she won't be able to act as freely as she'd like. Therefore, the best course of action is these are my last support spells, tax evasion, enforcing the rules." "Thanks," I told him as he cut my line of thought. I don't know what those spells do, but Oda leaned on a nearby wall after spending the last of his MP in these spells, so they better be useful. "Well, Misakijuji, here I go." "Don't hold back," she replied. And as such, I started chanting, "Garv's, sun god whose power comes from the great seven-colored god. My faith in you asks to be rewarded, please destroy your enemies and protect this humble lamb of yours, Maria," and was stopped by a thread tightening around my neck. "That's no good, the princess will die if you release this after all." "Well, it was fun, wasn't it?" Misakijuji said as she crushed my neck. I could hear Oda making the sound of a frog being crushed before I respawned as well. "You know, the goal was that you'd be defeated while protecting the princess from this spell." "You Uzpov." "We lost," I said. Yeah. Maria replied. We worked so hard, but in the end, we just couldn't beat Rena. The both of us lied down at the ground in the rebuilt temple of the beginner's city and sighed, I raised too many flags. Maria said, didn't we both raise and reinforce each other's flags actually? I replied. Ah. That could be it. She answered. It couldn't be helped that we couldn't break reinforced flags after all, but well. She lowered her tone and turned around, staring at me while looking pretty cute. It was pretty fun. She exclaimed, yeah, it was fun. I replied. It was frustrating to have lost, to have failed in rescuing the princess, and on defeating the puppet lord, but it was fun to fight against Rena with Maria. It was like trying to beat the game's final boss. Do you think Miss Ikijuji enjoyed it? Maria asked me. I'm sure she did. I replied. Even though Maria was still visibly frustrated at the result, she was still thinking of Rena. Well, that's just like her, let's play again sometime. She said. Yeah, you, me and Rena. Let's play again. I replied as we both laughed while remembering the fun and frustrating battle. Until a large sound echoed. That is, what was that? An explosion? Maria suddenly asked as the ground started trembling. I'm not sure. To think the sound not only reached all the way here, but it also caused an earthquake. Just what did you do this time, Rena? We both started laughing while thinking about that. Chapter 93, Declaration of War. Ah, that was fun. I said as I stretched a bit, not long after strangling you and Maria to death, if that's what you think. Ren answered in a bad mood. What's wrong? I asked him. What do you owe? He suddenly shouted midway through his response. I wonder what could have caused it? Ah. I did tie the princess behind me with threads, and I didn't pay proper attention to her during the battle. That's troublesome. Is the princess dead? Ren asked. The princess made a small groan in response, but said nothing more. That at least lets us know that she is alive, which is good enough. Her head was hanging to the side, so she probably fainted. I suppose it can't be helped after being moved around like she was during this last fight though. Well, seems like it was a total victory then. Ren said after sighing in relief when hearing the princess reply. And yes, I won. I'm happy. I'm happy that I was able to have a happy fight and a happy victory. I have to thank them later for this, thank? Ren seemed confused, but I ignored him. Instead, let's go clean up the garbage now, the fun is over already after all. Ren, let's escape. Will you really do it? He asked. But of course. I replied, I see. He seemed dejected for some reason, but that's irrelevant. I carried him and the princess out of the mansion through a broken wall and then through an oversized firework high up in the air. It's the signal. The NPCs started reacting. Retreat. Another shouted. Withdraw. Hurry. They surely ran away quickly. While the NPCs did their part, I started throwing explosives with paralyzing poison from above to stop the players from escaping, since they didn't drink the antidote in advance. I also used some threads to stop a few individuals that seemed to be resisting the poison. Are you really doing it? Ren asked me as things go closer to completion. You should give up on it already. I told him. Soon after, the troops finished evacuating and then pulled the threads that linked to the explosives within the basement, exploding the whole mansion and all the players within it. Farewell, my beloved bed. He said. Do you like sleeping that much? I asked him, by the grace of the gods. He seemed to be broken again, so I just watched the scene while ignoring him. The plow. The migrants are being blown away. I shouted. To think you'd really blow up the Lord's mansion. Ren complained as the players were being caught by the explosion. I couldn't hear them, but something made me feel like I was on the receiving end of a lot of curses. It was the only way to kill such a large number of people in a short amount of time though? I replied to Ren, I'd rather surrender in this kind of situation. He said. But that's not interesting. I told him. I wonder if my subordinates remembered to take my headache medicine before evacuating. Medicine again? It really isn't a good idea to take this much in a short period of time. You're kinda dumb, aren't you? I asked him, you could at least ask me if I had a headache. He replied with a sigh. I guess I was a bit rude, my bad. I still think he isn't very smart though. Anyways, is everything ready? I'll send an envoy to the Empire, though it should take a week for them to go there and come back. He answered. A whole week. I can listen to you and Maria's requests in this meantime, but still. What I should do while waiting. There should be plenty of idle time until things start moving. We'll have to rebuild the mansion, so I'd appreciate if you didn't do anything flashy. He told me honestly. Alright, you are plenty useful already after all. I replied. I guess I can just make a few more preparations for the start of the war. I'm looking to it. I'm going to showcase a whole new way of warring after all. Your level has increased. Your karma has dropped significantly. The level of existing skills has increased. The level of your servants has risen. While listening to the system notifications, I moved somewhere else. Emperor's Pov. Read it aloud. I told the person who claimed to be a messenger of the first princess of the kingdom of Hermagn. He was clearly nervous, but started reading it anyways. The Burfoyne Empire has unfairly discriminated against and persecuted the people of the kingdom of Hermagn. This inexcusable behavior can no longer be overlooked. In the name of the first princess, Farah von Hermagn, for the sake of the safety and well-being of our people, the kingdom of Hermagn is declaring war on the Burfoyne Empire. The messenger read it all in one breath, and the audience chamber went quiet. Everyone silently waited for my decision, though there was only one thing to be done: bathe the messenger's head in salt and send it back. I commanded. As you will. One of my men said, and then the guards approached the messenger who was crying for mercy, but was ignored. After that, I announced to my generals that they should mobilize themselves to go to war. The extremists were eager for it, but I did not wish for another war to occur. Right now what we needed was to stabilize our territory, not to expand it. And to think we were finally making progress on that end. I sighed to myself once I was alone while worrying over that. I thought I'd have a few more years of peace before I could no longer hold back the men who desired war, but I never expected the declaration to come from the other side. And from the first princess nonetheless. First, Alexei, who was one of the most prominent warriors of the kingdom, and who was also one of the most vocal people against a war against us, died. Then a declaration of war came not long after. Just what is going on in that place? Is this just internal strife? Could there be a coup going on? We really needed to have kept a stronger chain of spies there. As I sighed, I accepted the fact we were now going to enter an unstable period again. Chapter 94, A Lonely Person. Myspov, Maria's IRL name. I'm nervous. Oda said while trembling. Miss Ikijuji suggested that we meet up after the battle, but we're really scared of what she's going to tell us. I laughed to hide my feeling though. You get scared really easily, Oda. Your voice is shaking. He replied. It can't be helped. I already get nervous from just talking to her, but what if she criticizes what we did? How can I endure that? I'm about to puke right now. Oh, you're here already. Miss Ikijuji said as she arrived. We both turned around immediately when we heard her voice from behind us. To think she'd arrive at such a timing, I'm sweating cold right now. Sorry for the trouble we caused. Both me and Oda said at the same time while bowing down to her. Sorry for what? She asked us. Eh? We were both confused. She wasn't angry? I was in a good mood because she called us, but I was sure it was to scold us. Rather than that, you may have lost, but your surprise was still quite interesting, so I'm going to listen to your requests. She told us. Seriously? We both exclaimed in unison once again. She didn't reply, but instead just tilted her head to the side. She's so cute. Wait, stop. This is dangerous. I need to be more self-aware and behave naturally. I can't let her notice how much I stare at her, so, is there anything you want me to do? She asked us as we stayed silent for a bit too long. She also tilted her head to the side again when she said this and I almost fainted from the cuteness. Is she even aware of how much destructive power she has? Ah, right. If it's not too much trouble, it would be nice if you could come with me in a verification. Oda asked her. A verification? You mean the thing you do to learn about more details about the game? I don't know if I'll be very useful, but I don't mind it. Miss Ikijuji replied. Thank you very much. Oda said while bowing. That worm, we said we'd play together again, but now he is skipping ahead? I'm gonna burn him. What about you, Maria? Miss Ikijuji asked me. Ah. Well. What do I ask? Should I just ask her to be friends with me? Hey, Maria, what are you going to ask her? Oda said with a particularly annoying tone. I'm so going to kill him later. He knows I'm bad at this and he is making things worse. Weren't you just going to ask to be friends? He whispered to me. We will, kinda. I replied softly. Is there a problem? Miss Ikijuji asked. It's just. I just want to. Oda. You're in the way, leave first. I told him. Why? He was clearly surprised. Well, it's just. Embarrassing. It would be troublesome if Oda was here. Is it hard to say it if Yu is here? Miss Ikijuji asked. Maria, you aren't going to? Oda left the end of his question unfinished, but I knew what he meant. No. It's hard to say it, but it's not what you're thinking. I replied right away. Meanwhile, Miss Ikijuji tilted her head cutely at our exchange. She really needs to be more aware of how dangerous she is. Anyways, Oda, leave for a while. I told him. I got it. He left while grinning. This bastard of a pig. What's up with this grin? So? What is your request? Miss Ikijuji asked me once Oda left. Well. Alright, I can do it. I really want to be friends with her, but I'm also worried, so this is more important. It can't be helped. I'm definitely not trying to fulfill my own desires. Can ease mine please onlay. I stuttered horribly and totally messed up my sentence. I must look like a total pervert now. It's over, she will surely go away from me now. Sure, I don't mind it much. She seemed to be a bit reluctant, but she was okay with it. Really? It's really alright? I asked just to be sure. Why yeah. She replied. Calm down, me. Calm down. She is just getting more confused by this kind of eager question. I took a deep breath, then slowly and calmly sat on the base of a tree and lightly tapped my lap. Miss Ikijuji followed suit and laid her head in it. This is bad, I'm going to have a nosebleed like this. Is it okay if I caress your head? I asked her. Go ahead. She replied. Wow, this feels great. Even though we're still in the game, I'm feeling so good that my heart is about to explode. Miss Ikijuji is truly a goddess. I suppose that, even though Yu is your friend, this request really is something you wouldn't want him to be around for. Miss Ikijuji suddenly said. I tried laughing a bit to hide my embarrassment. I was glad he was here at first, but it really was a bit too much for him to stay. Also, Miss Ikijuji seemed to be in a bad mood these past few days. I looked back at all the footages of her playing as the genocider, and she was always smiling at those times. And yet, she seemed to have no fun at all ever since she got close to the princess and her maid. I wanted to do something more for her, and I couldn't have Yu here to get in the way. Could this be related to the fact you're always staring at me? Miss Ikijuji suddenly dropped a bomb. Eh? I could not make any other reply. Perhaps you weren't aware of it yourself? She asked me. No, I was plenty aware of it, I just never thought she noticed me doing my duty as her guardian. Well, about that. I'm sorry. I couldn't say much more than that now, could I? It's alright, I didn't mind it. She forgave me. Yes. It's my victory. This is not a situation where I should be messing around, what a shameful behavior I'm displaying. I only noticed that you were the person that always stared at me recently by the way, but why did you do it? She asked. Well, that's because I wanted to be friends. It was not a lie. I have always wanted to grow closer to her, but never knew how to approach her, so the gap between us just remained the same no matter how much time passed. Shouldn't you have requested that now, then? She asked after hearing my reply. Well, it certainly was a good opportunity. However, I still want to do more. Why did you want to get along with me of all people? She asked this next. It's just that Miss Ikijuji is a wonderful person. Sure, she may be a little very dangerous, but that didn't change the essence of who she was. I just found out a new side to her through the game. I decided I should try telling her a bit about myself to make things a bit clearer. You know, I'm not that interested in the people in my surroundings. I thought it would be fine if people just thought of me as a blur that easily blended in with the background. I don't even remember the name of my classmates, I don't know the current trends, and even when I'm talking to Oda, I'll just cut him off if he gets boring. Miss Ikijuji didn't reply, so I continued, but while I felt like this, you were different. You were constantly observing your surroundings and trying to blend in with them. I thought that was really cute of you. It was cute to see how she desperately observed and tried to imitate others even though she clearly wasn't interested in them at all. I wondered if this was because she was trying to hide how much she enjoyed playing as a genocider. She wouldn't be able to live properly if she behaved like that in the real world after all. Maybe this was a mechanism of self-defense of hers, or maybe this was a request of someone that was very important to her, as she wouldn't pay attention to other people's opinion of her otherwise. You took my interest when I realized that even though you didn't care for other people, you still paid quite a bit of attention to them. This strange contradiction attracted me. It was impressive even, to constantly look at those you didn't care about, and I also always felt extremely lonely. And your presence, the feeling of having someone so similar yet so different nearby, it always soothed me. I always wanted to get closer to you. She still hadn't replied, but that was all right. All that I needed was for her to know that I was paying attention. That even though I was this lonely, there was no way I could let her also be plagued by this horrible loneliness. I don't know what happened to you, and I won't ask. But I realized you were in a bad mood recently. Because Miss Akijuji was looking extremely lonely too. Because Miss Akijuji did not seem to be having fun while playing anymore. After a while of silence, she finally gave her first reply. Is that so? It was. That's why me and Oda put our utmost into getting you to smile again, to entertain you, to let you have fun again. While I gently stroked her hair, my true intentions ended up coming out on their own. How was it? Forgetting whatever was bothering you for a while and to just enjoy playing with us. Thank you for that. She answered. I'm glad you enjoyed it. The smile she gave me just now made all that work definitely worth it. Even a total otaku like me can make Miss Akijuji happy if I try. This wonderful feeling, I'll cherish it. Let's play again sometime. Let's. With you too, of course. Why mention you? Why here and now? Is the privilege of first friend that strong? While thinking of something silly like that, I spent some quiet time with Miss Akijuji. Chapter 95, Official Bulletin Board, 7. To the Royal Capital, General Chat Thread 254, Arrival. Nameless Adventurer. This is a general chat thread. Let's write freely. However, if you don't abide the basic rules, this thread will disappear. Previous thread, http:// 980 next thread, please. Nameless Adventurer. 74. Just checked, there really is a battalion there. Nameless Adventurer. Why are there so many troops here? Nameless Adventurer. It's a bit too early to get a new event. Nameless Adventurer. Did anyone start some big quest or something? Nameless Adventurer. Dunno. Nameless Adventurer. Dunno. Nameless Adventurer. The NPCs are desperately telling people to open the way, but nobody is moving, lol. Nameless Adventurer. 84. Lol. Nameless Adventurer. 84. It's funny that nobody can move from there at this point, even if they wanted to. Nameless Adventurer. The Crown Prince was announced to be the commander of the battalion. Nameless Adventurer. That's a pretty big shot, all right. Nameless Adventurer. Yeah, someone definitely started some sort of quest. Nameless Adventurer. The players moved even closer after hearing the word prince, lol. Nameless Adventurer. The NPCs are totally confused. Nameless Adventurer. Well, it can't be helped, it's not like the NPCs know that they're just game characters. Nameless Adventurer. 92. Pretty much. Nameless Adventurer. Imagine what would be like if the son of Japan's emperor was out to do something and told people to make room, but them instead just started making a gigantic crowd surrounding him. Nameless Adventurer. 94. Lol. Nameless Adventurer. 94. Lol. Nameless Adventurer. 94. Lol. Nameless Adventurer. They're so confused, lol. Nameless Adventurer. They're panicking, lol. Nameless Adventurer. They must think we're crazy by now. Nameless Adventurer. NPCs, please make way. Players, is this an event? NPCs, please. Make way. Players, someone must have started a quest. NPCs, the Crown Prince is here, now make way. Players, seriously? Furiously move closer. NPCs, what the? No wonder they're confused, lol. Nameless Adventurer. All the soldiers are in high alert, lol. Nameless Adventurer. If something like this happened in Japan, it would be a matter of national security, wouldn't it? Lol. Nameless Adventurer. They'd probably deploy the self-defense forces at the very minimum, lol. Nameless adventurer. Ah. Nameless adventurer. Whoa. Nameless adventurer. Eh? Nameless adventurer. What happened? Nameless adventurer. The head of the commander of the NPCs flew away. Nameless adventurer. 109. Eh? Nameless adventurer. 109. Ah. It must be. Nameless adventurer. I know who the culprit must be. Nameless adventurer. Me too. Nameless adventurer. I bet 50,000 Zimbabwe dollars that the culprit is the genocider. Nameless adventurer. Who'd bet against that? Lol. Nameless adventurer. Anybody could figure that out, lol. Nameless adventurer. And the genocider started doing her things, lol. Nameless adventurer. She's using a new weapon, threads. Nameless adventurer. Looks strong. Nameless adventurer. She was already strong before having this weapon. Nameless adventurer. Seeing her massacres always give me some good laughs. Nameless adventurer. I bet she is the person who enjoys this game the most. Nameless adventurer. Did anyone ever play a game that gave as much freedom as this one, by the way? Nameless adventurer. There's way too much freedom here for any game to even compare, lol. Nameless adventurer. Even the official website says that you can do pretty much anything, so it can't be helped that it is like this. Nameless adventurer. How can she seriously win against an army? Nameless adventurer. I guess the genocider is in a build heavily specialized in killing people. Nameless adventurer. Lol, no. Have you seen her when she's killing monsters? Nameless adventurer. She's just good at killing anyone. Nameless adventurer. Would anyone seriously kill only people and no monsters in a fantasy rebounds per game? Nameless adventurer. Whoa whoa whoa. Nameless adventurer. Guess she'll be wrapping it up now. Nameless adventurer. I thought it had ended after she entered the carriage, but the genocide started again. Nameless adventurer. Silly you, the genocider doesn't leave her job half finished. Nameless adventurer. Did I just die? Nameless adventurer. Hello? Nameless adventurer. And I'm dead. Nameless adventurer. Lol. Nameless adventurer. Lol. Nameless adventurer. Lol. Nameless adventurer. I was observing from a distance, and I can tell you all that the genocider used her threads to somehow turn the whole battalion into one giant mass of meat. Nameless adventurer. What the? Nameless adventurer. I have no idea how that happened, but I guess it happened. Nameless adventurer. Did she tear them apart with a sharp thread? Nameless adventurer. She's scary. Nameless adventurer. She never used threads before, so I guess she got it as reward from the event. Nameless adventurer. Probably a top-tier item exclusive to the top scorers of the event. Nameless adventurer. It wouldn't surprise me if both the genocider and absolutely inviolable area had multiple pieces of equipment that are as powerful as this one. Nameless adventurer. They probably have extra effects when compared to player-made gear. And more importantly, their stats must be absurd. Nameless adventurer. 149. Ah, yeah, it must definitely have some pretty crazy stats. Nameless adventurer. Just like one can't make money without having money, one cannot become powerful without having power. Nameless adventurer. 151. You lost me there. Nameless adventurer. Sorry. Nameless adventurer. Hot take, lol. Nameless adventurer. No need to be sorry, it was easy to understand, lol. Nameless adventurer. Lol. Near the royal capital, general chat thread 254, another country. Nameless adventurer. This is a general chat thread. Let's write freely. However, if you don't abide the basic rules, this thread will disappear. Previous thread, http:// 980 next thread, please. Nameless adventurer. 212. You just have way too many people in your faction. Nameless adventurer. 214. GG easy. Nameless adventurer. People like Hands are in the Order faction, it's not just a number. Nameless adventurer. They're just jealous of Order being the biggest faction. Nameless adventurer. Even though they're the largest faction, they got last place in the event. Lol. Nameless adventurer. Oh, it's a fight. Nameless adventurer. Ignore the troll. Nameless adventurer. Come on, are you running away? Nameless adventurer. What else are we supposed to do with trolls? Nameless adventurer. You just scared of facing the truth. The Order faction is filled with people full of themselves, but in truth they're just a bunch of losers. Nameless adventurer. Losers. Nameless adventurer. Top players since beta? We're going to be forever at the top? Oh no. It's over. The Genocider ruined us. We can't challenge her. Rena is invincible. There is nothing but numbers to you guys. Nameless adventurer. Shut up already. Nameless adventurer. 226. Don't feed the troll. Nameless adventurer. I can only exist due to Order. The great tutorial uncle guided me through life. Nameless adventurer. You're all worthless gamers. Your faction isn't worth anything. Just a bunch of losers. A mountain of garbage and losers. Nameless adventurer. But Order is the largest faction. Please keep being stupid, you're entertaining me. Nameless adventurer. This is good trolling, alright. Nameless adventurer. Just what are they even trying to get at? Lol. Nameless adventurer. Raffle now. Nameless adventurer. We'll remember this kind of trolling for the next 100 years. Lol. Nameless adventurer. And if you're not from the Order faction, for 200 years. Lol. Nameless adventurer. Can't be helped, it's not like there are many people in the other factions, lol. Nameless adventurer. Isn't this a bit too much? Maria. I have good news for all of you. Nameless adventurer. What is it? Nameless adventurer. Did a top player from Order suddenly drop here? Maria. Right now the Genocider is trying to kidnap the princess of this country, so we're gonna get in her way. Nameless adventurer. I feel like I just heard something crazy. Nameless adventurer. Strange, I also think I heard it. Maria. We won't have enough time to stop her now that she's already rushing to the castle, so we'll instead attack her at the Lord's mansion in the beginner's city. Nameless adventurer. She's crazy. Nameless adventurer. Is there any communication between the top players of the Order faction to plan things out? This seems like the kind of thing you'd prepare in advance to stop the kidnapping in the first place. Maria. Can't be helped, we only found out about this whole kidnapping plan now after all. Anyways, isn't it a bit frustrating that the Genocider always does whatever she wants with nobody being able to get in the way? Nameless adventurer. Well, it's definitely a bit frustrating. Maria. Indeed. So this time, we'll be the one taking her by surprise instead of being the defenders like usual. You can see the details here, http:// Basically, this is a player-made event. Nameless adventurer. Sounds interesting. Nameless adventurer. Wait, you even got the cooperation of some of the top players already? That's impressive. Maria. Yeah. Let's show her who has the power here. Nameless adventurer. But I'm scared of the Generers. Nameless adventurer. Yeah, they're trouble. Maria. It's alright, I already convinced them to not interfere because as if God has a chance of losing, so they'll just watch. Nameless adventurer. You're scary. Nameless adventurer. She definitely set up the proper groundwork. Nameless adventurer. She even negotiated with the Generers. Nameless adventurer. This looks serious now. Maria. I am serious. Nameless adventurer. Then I'll join. Nameless adventurer. Me too. Nameless adventurer. This looks like it will be fun even if we lose. Maria. Well, it's not like much will be lost even if we don't win. Nameless adventurer. I'll spread the word about it. Nameless adventurer. Gotta make sure we reach as many people as possible, our faction is big after all. Nameless adventurer. Let's do our best. Maria. See you all on the day of the event. Nameless adventurer. That was one cheerful person. Nameless adventurer. She seems to be a bit too naive to think it's seriously possible to beat the Genocider though. Nameless adventurer. But it looks interesting, I'll try to participate at least. Nameless adventurer. The mood changed a lot once she left. Nameless adventurer. Lol. Nameless adventurer. I'll go there to listen to her speech then log off. Nameless adventurer. So cruel, lol. Nameless adventurer. What if her speech is so catchy that you want to stay? Lol. Nameless adventurer. No way. Lol. You. We'll see about that, lol. Chapter 96, Official Bulletin Board, 8. Now is the time, General Chat Thread 272, show the power of the order. Nameless adventurer. This is a general chat thread. Let's write freely. However, if you don't abide the basic rules, this thread will disappear. Previous thread, http://980 next thread, please. Nameless adventurer. Did everyone hear Lil Maria's speech? Who's in the raid? Nameless adventurer. 87. Didn't you say you'd listen to the speech and then go home? My. Nameless adventurer. Don't bully him, lol. Nameless adventurer. 88. Shut up. I'm just a normal human, I'm allowed to change my mind. Nameless adventurer. I wish a high school girl was willing to talk to me as much as Maria did just now. Nameless adventurer. She must have been nervous while speaking in front of so many people. Nameless adventurer. I fell in love with her. Nameless adventurer. Hello? Police officer. Yeah, it's 93 right there. Nameless adventurer. Wait. Please. No. Nameless adventurer. Lol. Nameless adventurer. It was cute to see someone as small as her trying her best like that, lol. Nameless adventurer. Her height isn't even 150 centimeters. Nameless adventurer. Would she be a middle schooler or an elementary schooler? Either way, the police report would make sense. Maria. I'm a young and energetic high school girl, alright? Nameless adventurer. The person herself made an appearance, lol. Nameless adventurer. A high schooler wouldn't be that short. Nameless adventurer. She'd probably need to keep jumping if she wanted to talk to you face to face, lol. Nameless adventurer. You can hardly notice she was on top of a podium when giving the speech, lol. Maria. 102. 103. 104. I want you three on the front lines. Nameless adventurer. Lol, she retaliated. Nameless adventurer. Frontline duty is too harsh of a punishment, lol. Nameless adventurer. The price of bad-mouthing was too high, lol. Nameless adventurer. Please forgive me. Nameless adventurer. You'll be thrown to the fray where the genocider will be throwing explosions left and right, lol. Nameless adventurer. God bless your souls. Nameless adventurer. She's really a high schooler with that height? I see. Nameless adventurer. Maria, look at 112 now. Maria. Guilty. Nameless adventurer. Wait, no. I'm not into small children. Maria. I have a C cup. Just who is a small child? Nameless adventurer. A child with big breasts. As if. Lol. Nameless adventurer. There is no way she is a high schooler after all, lol. Maria. You're all going to the gallows. Nameless adventurer. They got the death sentence, lol. Nameless adventurer. Eh? You serious? Nameless adventurer. They were all sniped, lol. Nameless adventurer. Beautiful headshot got them, lol. Nameless adventurer. Lady Maria is an elegant noble. Nameless adventurer. Lady Maria is an adult woman. Maria. That's better. Nameless adventurer. Just what is this? Lol. Nameless adventurer. A weird religion just formed. Our saint, General Chat Thread 281, Maria. Nameless adventurer. This is a general chat thread. Let's write freely. However, if you don't abide the basic rules, this thread will disappear. Previous thread, http://980 next thread, please. Nameless adventurer. What was that? Nameless adventurer. I think she mixed up some special skills from the advanced class with the oracle skill. Nameless adventurer. By the time I realized it, even though I wasn't directly hit by the blast, I had already lost 80% of my HP. Nameless Adventurer. What a crazy firepower. Nameless Adventurer. To think that she melted not only the enemies, but also the building and the soil below it. Nameless Adventurer. Is she some sort of divine warrior or something? Nameless Adventurer. Lol, she's saying that she maybe overdid it. Nameless Adventurer. She is the destroyer, I guess. Nameless Adventurer. Yes. We now have the genocider and the destroyer. Nameless Adventurer. Our destroying saint. Nice. Nameless Adventurer. Seems like something is being born here. Nameless Adventurer. Destroyer Saint? Isn't there any better name? Nameless Adventurer. Saintess Maria Hussa. Nameless Adventurer. Bonsai. Nameless Adventurer. A weird religion is born. Nameless Adventurer. She's an energetic, small, easily flustered girl, who makes a cool speech while maintaining her cuteness while also showing superb firepower. She'll definitely be popular, lol. Nameless Adventurer. There's too much gap between her heat and her small body, lol. Nameless Adventurer. It's similar to the feeling of a small girl swinging a giant sword, lol. Nameless Adventurer. And you will now gather hate from being close to both the genocider and the destroyer. Nameless Adventurer. I wonder how long will it take for him to be stabbed. Nameless Adventurer. He's pitiful. Nameless Adventurer. You're also mean, lol. Nameless Adventurer. He's a hero of a light novel. Nameless Adventurer. 253. Are you using that as an insult? Lol. Nameless Adventurer. And then there are those skills of him. Nameless Adventurer. I know he is cleaning up the mess of our saintess, but I have no clue what he is doing. Nameless Adventurer. I thought about that during the speech, but what is public magic anyways? Nameless Adventurer. That is. You of the variety show. Nameless Adventurer. That name, lol. Nameless Adventurer. No wonder she has more fun with you than with us. Nameless Adventurer. I'm so jealous. Nameless Adventurer. I doubt we'd ever be able to master his kind of art though. Nameless Adventurer. How is he even able to use those skills properly? Nameless Adventurer. Isn't he like the joke characters in games? Nameless Adventurer. Ah, that's not wrong. Lol. Nameless Adventurer. He somehow still escaped from the generators though, so he is certainly powerful. Nameless Adventurer. I guess we can forgive him when thinking of that. Loss, General Chat Thread 289, no regrets. Nameless Adventurer. This is a general chat thread. Let's write freely. However, if you don't abide the basic rules, this thread will disappear. Previous thread, http:// 980 next thread, please. Nameless Adventurer. Ah, we lost. Nameless Adventurer. Are you seriously disappointed? Nameless Adventurer. It's certainly been a while since I lost to the genocider and was disappointed about it for sure. But yeah. I'm disappointed. Nameless Adventurer. Guess we really were just making excuses, just like our saint said. Nameless Adventurer. I definitely didn't expect her to blow up the whole mansion. Nameless Adventurer. Yeah, lol. Nameless Adventurer. As expected of genocider. Nameless Adventurer. I lost but I feel refreshed. Nameless Adventurer. Same. Nameless Adventurer. We have to thank our saint for that. Nameless Adventurer. If our saint hadn't touched me, I wouldn't be enjoying this game to the fullest right now. Nameless Adventurer. I'll continue to challenge the raid boss, as a prideful gamer. Nameless Adventurer. 352. What's a raid boss? Nameless Adventurer. 353. Obviously the genocider. Nameless Adventurer. Lol. Nameless Adventurer. Guess that makes sense, lol. Nameless Adventurer. It just had to be her, lol. Nameless Adventurer. This time we were able to show that there's more to the Order faction than numbers. Nameless Adventurer. But we still have numbers. Nameless Adventurer. I'll be joining the faith of Our Lady Maria. Nameless Adventurer. 360. Just what did you just come up with? Lol. Nameless adventurer. It's basically like the generators of Genocider. Nameless adventurer. Seriously? Lol. I'll join too then, lol. Nameless adventurer. As per our saints' teachings, be wary to not be deceived by any evil ill-intentioned man. Nameless adventurer. Got it, lol. Nameless adventurer. I'm sorry, but I didn't get it at all, lol. Nameless adventurer. I vehemently agree with this message. Nameless adventurer. Then let us watch over her and protect her from the unworthy. Nameless adventurer. I guess a faith was really formed now. Nameless adventurer. So stupid. Nameless adventurer. Are those people alright? Nameless adventurer. Please tell me this is a joke. Nameless adventurer. It's all a deception made by Luxki. Nameless adventurer. Ah, I see. Nameless adventurer. No, don't make me remember my old embarrassing days. Nameless adventurer. Seriously? Lol. Nameless adventurer. That's that I guess, lol. Nameless adventurer. There are now the generers and the believers of Maria. There are all kinds of crazy people in here I guess. Nameless adventurer. Pretty much, lol. Chapter 97, Untouchable. Pov of an Imperial General. General, we have just received a report from our scout unit, they found nothing worth worrying about. One of my men reported. I see. Continue marching towards the capital then. I replied. Yes, sir. He said, and the troops continued moving. To think it's already been a week since the war with Hermagna officially started, and yet we have had no big conflicts so far. We certainly didn't expect Margrave Wallace would declare neutrality and give free passage to both troops of the kingdom and the empire. It is quite helpful, but I cannot stop thinking it might be a trap. It doesn't seem right for one of their main lines of defense to give us free passage to the capital. I want more information soon. I said to nobody in particular. Information, sir? My officer asked. Yes, some sort of guarantee that this path is safe. I don't trust Margrave Wallace. I told him. We can't risk being flanked by the royal troops and the Margrave's troops after all. At that moment, I noticed a strange man carrying a large sword. Who's there? I asked. You talking to me? He asked back. Just who else is there aside from you? I answered his annoying reply. Quite a lot of people. He was really getting on my nerves. They are my subordinates. I answered while getting ready for combat, just in case he tried attacking us. Ah, well. I'm a Pla. Migrant. I'm on my way to the royal capital. He answered. That's quite convenient. Migrants are neutral parties, so they shouldn't have any reason to side with us or the kingdom. It should be easy to buy his favor and get him on our side. I see. You may be in luck, lad, for I have a wonderful offer for you. If you can show us a safe path to the royal capital, I may give you quite the reward. I told him. A reward for this little? Sure. He instantly replied and turned his back on us, walking towards the direction that we know to be the one that will lead to the capital. I suppose that should be all right. I said to myself. That man is strange, he shouldn't show his back to us so easily without worrying about being attacked. Are all migrants that carefree? I decided I should ask him about his path of choice. Will it take long to get to the capital? Not really. Unless we stop by the villages and towns on the way, that is. He replied. So his safe path is just a straight line? I was unsure if I should trust him, but perhaps moving quickly to our goal might be for the best. As our scouts found no interference from the Margrave so far, we might be able to get to the capital before he has the time to assemble any troops if he wishes to betray us. For now, I suppose I should keep the conversation going with him, just in case he is trying to send some signal to some hidden troops. It should be harder for him to do those if he is involved in something else. Hey, what's your name? I asked him. He pondered for a bit before answering. It's fine to call me Jerusalem. An unusual name, I suppose. Does it mean anything? I asked him to keep the conversation flowing, even though the name was obviously false. He seems to be smart enough to not give his real name in front of an army he doesn't quite trust yet. Never mind that, the capital is right ahead. He said as he pointed forward. Its walls really were visible already, and no traps got us so far. It was a good bet to just move forward quickly. Then was that all that you needed? Yes, that should be it. I replied. We should now prepare for a siege on the capital as more troops come as reinforcements while pillaging the towns and villages on the way to give us extra resources. We will take this kingdom swiftly and make them regret declaring war on the Empire. Well, then I guess my job is done. Oh. He was saying something strange. Wasn't he supposed to ask for the reward now? But instead he was moving away. Did he stop because he just remembered it? How could one forget the whole reason he guided us in the first place? Is something the matter? I asked him. My karma has dropped. He replied mysteriously. Are you saying that our army is evil? This insult cannot be left alone. I signaled to my men to prepare their weapons. However, there was something amiss. Instead of being hostile at us, he just seemed upset. It was a strange reaction for one that just threw an insult at us. To think it fell down by 50 in one go. He murmured something strange. Just what is he getting at? Seems like I have no choice. In order to raise this karma, I'll have to kill you all. What? My lieutenant's head flew away in the next second. Just how did he do that? Why did he go from no hostility to an enemy in an instant? Why would he even take us to this place if he meant to fight us all along? There should be no other troops nearby to aid him, this crazy man. Everyone, prepare for battle. I told the men who were already unsheathing their swords. Ashley, Rwanda, grant me your strength. The man said something weird and his gauntlet and necklace shone momentaneously. After that, my subordinates started screaming as he suddenly got behind them. Fast. Close formations I tried ordering, but guess I gotta start with the head. As he said that, everything turned upside down, and then it was all dark. Absolutely inviolable areas of eternal invincibility, my glory, I said as I beheaded one of their commanders. Their numbers were quite large, so I would need to use some buffs to beat them, spiritual resonance, magic dominion. As they approached me, I made a shockwave by punching the ground, then started killing the staggered soldiers while using more buffs, absolutely immovable, inviolable area. After doing this much, things became mostly easy. The soldiers just couldn't keep up with me and I could kill them without much worries about whatever they tried doing to retaliate. Your karma has increased. Oh, that was a nice message. I was a bit worried that I might not be able to recover the karma from just killing these troops, but it seems this will do. Then, as I smiled at this prosperous future, I continued annihilating them. Chapter 98, Chance Meeting. There was something weird happening. The Empire's army should have already arrived at the capital by now. They shouldn't have taken any longer than a week to arrive, but half a month already passed and there were no signs of them yet. Me and you spent that time preparing for our verification, but still, their troops really should have arrived already. On the kingdom side things seem to be closer to expected though. Both princes are at odds with one another and can't cooperate. Moreover, the whole kingdom is in chaos with the prince's sudden war declaration. I wonder if I should go to the Empire myself to thin out their army? I started wondering out loud. That sounds fun. Until I suddenly heard a little girl's voice from behind me. Moreover, the scenery completely changed to an empty dark red space. Oh my. To suddenly stab me like that. You're really interesting, you know. The girl giggled as I turned around and tried killing her. However, I was not only unable to hurt her, but was also held upside down by my leg. I tried cutting off the strange lump of meat that was holding me, but it refused to be damaged. Seems like I am outmatched right now. That's troublesome. Who are you? I decided to ask. Me? I'm Fanny. You've called out to me before, remember? The thing answered. I see. I replied to it. It may have a cute little girl's voice, but it's a being with a naked gigantic body that looks more like an old doll than a human. It also had a huge disgusting face with rotten lips and broken teeth. It was bothersome to even look at it, and the girly voice just made it even more annoying. I guess I should say I'm glad to meet you, I suppose? I asked it. That seems fine. I've been watching you for a while now, you know. It told me, I see. I replied. It was bothersome to think that the gods are a type of AI that seems to be able to manage players as they see fit. And they don't seem to be killable to boot, though perhaps that's just an issue of my current level not being high enough. Yes. It's been really fun. Especially now that you've decided to dye both the kingdom and the empire in chaos. She told me. What a weird choice of words. Dye? I asked her while wondering what she meant. Is there some hidden element to the game that involves influence over an area for a given karmic faction? Yes. You're increasing our territory. She answered. Perhaps this is about some war between the gods on who has the larger control over the humans' lands. I'm really looking forward to what you'll do next, you know. I can't wait to see which of those two you'll bring to ruins, perhaps both. She started laughing out loud, making a sweet and clean sound which was quite contrasting with her appearance, and that's amazing. Your karma is below -300 already. That's the first time in centuries that a human went this low. She suddenly changed topics. It's that low already? Though I suppose I did destroy a battalion, killed the personal maid of the princess, attacked the royal castle, killed the king, kidnapped the princess and used her to declare war on the empire. All those things definitely added up. Since you've been so hardworking, your lovely goddess will you a blessing. She then said, thank you, I guess? I wonder if a blessing from this weird god would be of any help. Though I suppose I'm fine for as long as it's useful. Alright then, done. I'll be watching you, so see you again. She waved her hand as both her body and the strange scenery disappeared, making everything slowly came back to normal. What a weird goddess, she suddenly came, blessed me, and then disappeared after making a completely one-sided conversation. Let's just check what she gave me. Your karma has fallen. You acquired a new divine will skill. You acquired a new spiritual possession skill. You acquired the blessed by the naive goddess title. You acquired the caught the attention of the god of corruption title. You acquired the transcendental title. New classes are available for you. As certain conditions were met, you may now evolve. As certain conditions were met, your servants may now evolve. To think I'd lose karma and get this many buffs at one from a single chance meeting with a chaos goddess. That was quite the fortunate. And she really didn't hold back when giving those blessings. Those will definitely be helpful, I'll look forward to using them in the near future. Chapter 99, Underneath the Kind Smile. After coming back from the goddess space, I decided that I should first check on the status of the Empire's battalion that was approaching us. I used the Farsight skill to look at them to find out that they had been completely wiped out. That's a bit troublesome, things won't be interesting if their army is routed on its own. Seems like it can't be helped, but I suppose I'll have to start interfering with the kingdom side of things in order to make sure the Empire will be able to attack properly. Though I already did deal some damage to the kingdom's troops, but it seems like that much wasn't enough. But before that, I suppose I should handle the elephant in the room, so? For how long are you going to stay there? I asked the princess who was holding her knees while on top of the mansion's walls, on the very edge of the walls in particular. She stayed silent for a small while before making a question of her own. Why did you use my name to declare a war? Because it won't entice the audience otherwise, of course. I replied. She didn't seem to understand what I was talking about, but that was fine. She seemed to give up on understanding anyways, as she asked, do you really hate me that much for insulting your mother? I don't find you to be that hateful actually. I replied to her. She finally raised her head at this response, and as she had an obviously confused expression, I continued, I'll never forgive you for what you said about my mother. Even now, I still wish to kill you. However, you're smart, and you had the courage to try taunting me. Those are not bad traits. But, you messed up, and now you'll have to pay the price for it. Pay the price while lamenting your own lack of power to fight against the flow. Stop it. She begged. Though to think you'd anger me enough to the point I wanted to kill you myself, only for you to then try killing yourself? That's just comical. I didn't stop. Please stop. She begged again. I suppose that even if you think it would be best for the kingdom for you to end your life right now, you're still too attached to it to let go. She certainly had the time to jump while I was abducted by that ugly goddess after all, and yet she couldn't do it. Perhaps because I guess the maid's last will is binding you to this world? Please stop already. She kept on begging. I giggled at that request. Isn't it funny? The very request of the maid who wished for nothing more than your happiness is exactly what is causing you the most suffering right now. She looked at me with bloodshot eyes and spoke words filled with resolve. I'll kill you. Bold words. However, you cannot. I told her. Even if she musters her resolve, even if she forces herself to stop crying, even if she tries her hardest to tell me this, she is still just a toy that is unable to change anything. She stayed silent for a while, then lowered her head again and muttered something that was barely audible enough for me to hear. Just how can you have such a kind smile? Kind? Did her AI break? Well, feel free to cry for now. I'll be going out for the time being, so you'll have the time for it, if I feel like it. She replied. I suppose that's enough for now. Let's go hit up on the kingdom's forces a bit then, in order to give the empire some time to recover. I suppose I'll start with some nobles from the Crown Prince's faction, as that one is currently the biggest one. Chapter 100, Attack in Broad Daylight. Just in case, I'm going to ask. Is this the right place? I asked the princess. I was thinking of leaving her at the mansion, but I changed my mind and figured I'd bring her with me here. I'm not answering that. She replied. If you don't want to talk, then I guess you won't mind this then. I told her. She tried to make a reply, but she was unable to. I used the powers newly acquired from that ugly goddess to take her voice away. Now, let's get started on weakening the Crown Prince's forces. I believe the mansion in front of us is Marquis Gowan's, so let's greet them with an explosive thrown with meteor, which created an explosion big enough to blow up the mansion's gates while also spreading a poisonous gas. Enemy attack! One of the mansion's guards shouted. Meanwhile, I entered through the front door while throwing more explosives to spread more poison around. Do you know who you're dealing with? This is the territory of Marquis Gowan. That soldier was being a bit annoying, so I threw an iron scrap at his mouth to kill him. Then, I used my threads to grab a chandelier and throw it at a group of guards that was running down the stairs from the upper floor. After that, the archers at the second floor started shooting arrows at me, but I dodged and parried the arrows while throwing some explosives at them and also swung the chandelier at them, quickly knocking them down. Don't let her dominate the battle with her long range. Close the distance. A commander of the guard said, and soon died by being pierced by a spear made of thread. Then I killed some more incoming soldiers with poison needles. The princess seemed frightened, but it's not like she could do anything in her current situation, so I didn't mind it much. She seemed to be trying to say something though. I don't know what you want to say, you know. I told her while kicking two approaching soldiers in the ribs to kill them. More soldiers were coming, so I threw the long swords of the dead ones at the healer and commander of the upcoming group. She's strong in close combat too? One of the soldiers exclaimed. Does she have no weakness? Another said. Since they seemed to be hesitating, I figured I'd take the initiative now. I used jet propulsion to quickly move forward, beheaded the nearest enemy with my short sword, then used my threads to start cutting and compressing the other nearby soldiers before they could react. They gathered more archers in this meanwhile and tried shooting me, but I moved the dead bodies in front of the arrows, and then threw bodies filled with explosives at the archers. What is this madness? One soldier said. What about the Lord? Another asked. He's having a hard time evacuating because the back door is sealed tight with threads. The first one replied. I see. The second one seemed to be despairing. It was impressive that the soldiers kept trying to buy time for the Marquis even though he was already trying to escape. They're really dedicated to their jobs. I'll kill you. One of them shouted while swinging their long sword. I stopped it with my threads, stepped on his foot, threw an iron scrap at his head to kill him, then grabbed the spear of a dead soldier to pierce the neck of another incoming guard. Then I entangled another soldier with my threads to immobilize him. Time to test a new drug. I dropped it on the skin of the unmovable guard and the liquid quickly started melting the skin and muscles that it came into contact with. A nice success. How dare you? Another shouted as he tried to attack me. I blocked his sword blow with my short sword, immobilized him with my threads, then broke his jaws with my hand. After that, I took off his Adam's apple and let him bleed to death. It's the devil. A soldier commented before I killed him in the same way as the last one. This is fun. Yeah, I guess you're not entirely wrong. It was particularly interesting to see them desperately try to stop the blood from leaking out once I freed them from my threads, only for them to die anyways. In any case, I still have more work to do, so I'll have to wrap things up quickly. Please entertain me while you can. They seemed to be terrified as I approached them. No, please. I don't want to die like this. One of them begged as he fell on his knees. Okay, I can grant this request. I said as I tore his intestine out and kicked him away. He shouted in pain, but I ignored him and moved forward. Does anybody else has a request? They stayed silent. Then I'm going, I said as I rushed forward while thinking about what I'd do to play with them. Chapter 101, The Marquis' Loyalty. Marquis Gowan's point of view. My troops were trying to somehow suppress the sudden attack while I retreated and tried to analyze the situation. Just who could the enemy be? Maybe someone under the command of the second prince? He'd be the one most benefited from my death, but this doesn't seem right. It's barred too. One of my men commented as we tried to flee from another of secret escape routes, but as with the others, this one was blocked. We don't have any more time. Let's break this. Another one of my soldiers shouted as he tried cleaving through the threads barring the door with his axe. Just who was it that could isolate the entire mansion this quickly? Trey, another of my guards, used a skill to try breaking the door, but it all seemed futile. Is there nothing we can do other than waiting for reinforcements from the royal army? But will they even come? It might be hard if this is the second prince's doing. Is this situation truly hopeless? Even the windows were blocked, so there really seemed to be no escape. In that case, I should at least try to get as much information as possible and then use my skills to inform the prince. No, to inform His Majesty about it. Oh, so here you are. A girl's voice echoed in the room. Me and all of my guards turned towards her at once. Her appearance matched the appearance that His Majesty described to me before. The appearance of the Apostle of Chaos. So that was what caused this madness. More importantly than that though, there was someone together with the Apostle. Someone I knew very well. Your Highness, why are you on that side? I asked Her Highness, but she did not reply. Your Highness, Fira? I said her name again, but she did not utter a single sound. This can't be. My commander said. He was obviously shocked, as we all were. Why was Her Highness by the side of the Apostle? Oh my? You didn't hear about the Princess' declaration of war against the Empire? The Apostle asked us. Of course we know about it. I replied. The woman's expression was mysterious, and she didn't seem that threatening, but His Majesty warned me about how she just disguised herself for the most part, so I must be wary. Though right now, she seems to be willing to talk, so let's obtain information. Do you really need to ask then? She declared war against the Empire in the middle of the turmoil created by the king's death, so why are you wondering about her side now? The Apostle tried to make me give up on it. That was worth investigating. I'd like to hear Her Highness' words on the matter, directly. I replied. Her Highness seemed to be surprised by my words. The Apostle, on the other hand, looked bored. She said, Is that so? And then she pulled out her short sword and started attacking my subordinates. I was sorry for them, but instead of trying to find an escape, I focused on Her Highness instead. She was squinting her eyes, biting her lips, and even trembling a bit. She was enduring something heavy. I'm sure of it. Your reaction wasn't what I expected, so I'm gonna kill you all right? The Apostle declared mercilessly. My guards were outraged and tried to defeat her, but this was not an opponent we could beat. We are all going to die here. I'm sorry my men, you were loyal to the end. And I'm going to use your loyalty to find out the truth behind Her Highness' actions. Your grandparents are so worried about you, Your Highness. I told her. She flinched, but did not reply. Is she refusing to talk on purpose? Or is she unable to talk at all? Regardless, she seemed to be in great pain. This really is way too boring. The Apostle said as she threw something at me. My guards couldn't react in time and suddenly I had been pierced. My body felt weak. I see, that's poison. As my soldiers noticed what just happened, they tried fighting her with renewed vigor, but she still did not seem troubled by them at all. She kept on killing them one by one without changing her expression at all, no matter how brutal or horrifying the death was. I could hardly withstand this. But I had to. Your Highness, is this really all right with you? I asked her, who once again stayed silent. The Apostle was cheerfully counting, 1, 2, 3, 4 as she beheaded one soldier after the other. My vision was going dark. But I had to focus. Ignore everything else except for Her Highness. She was suffering. She was suffering a lot, but she could not speak. Therefore, this was not what Her Highness wanted. This is absolutely not what she wanted, and as such. Your Highness, when spring comes, it is enough for parent and children to smile like I told her. She had a very visible reaction to that. What now? Poetry? The Apostle asked, but I ignored her. I focused on Her Highness, on her reaction to those words that she and the rest of the royal family often used when they were younger, their own secret code, that only a handful of nobles ever heard about. Her Highness nodded to my words, so I continued, brother and sister go to the candy house together. She seemed about to cry when hearing this. When hearing that her brother has not given up hope on her, that he still believes in her. Once more, I continued with the code. When the dreadful dark curtain of night falls, only fear remains. Her Highness eagerly nodded when asked if something terrible had befallen her. It was a relief to see her saddened and enraged face. Her Highness was not our enemy. The bad witch I tried saying more, but was unable to. This wordplay that I don't understand ends here. The apostle said. Before I noticed it, all my subordinates had been wiped out. And her short sword pierced my stomach. I'd like to thank them all for their unwavering loyalty. Well, guess you're about to die. She commented. But I giggled. I giggled as I suffered the intolerable pain from this short sword piercing my belly. The apostle was confused for a second, but then she said, "So you're still planning something?" She was right, but she was late. "Oath, the loyal servant won't die easily," I said as I held her neck tightly while looking deeply into her eyes. Her being an apostle of chaos aside, she was actually quite the beauty. This would be a nice final sight. Oath, glory to my Lord. And then, my body started shining. Soon, it would explode, ending my life, and attacking all those, and only those, that I consider to be my Lord's enemies. At this distance, there is nothing that can save this woman. Your loyalty is quite impressive, she said even as I held her neck while empowered by my oaths. Unbelievable. I'll take this compliment. I ended up replying. To think that all my power isn't enough to even stop her from talking. But it's alright, my sacrifice won't be wasted, for this skill allows me to send 1 minute of the recent events as a message to His Majesty. I am sure he won't waste this. Now ends the life of the most loyal servant of His Majesty. May you witness this from a most special seat. I shouted. And then, my body melted, becoming an aurora made purely to extinguish chaos. Chapter 102, The North Cross Alliance. I coughed from the dust that flew all over as the explosion slowly cleared out. Seems like I was barely on time. This could have taken me out if Kageyama didn't have the phantom skill of the black magic tree to block this attack. I should be more wary of things like suicide attacks in the future, they're quite dangerous. Once the dust settled down, I looked around for a bit and saw that it caused a vast amount of destruction. It maybe blew up a whole half of the mansion? It wasn't much of a problem because I wanted to kill him from the beginning, but what about the princess? I turned around to look at her and, "I'm surprised you're unharmed," I told her. Did she also have a skill that allowed her to dodge the explosion? Though I don't think she'd have anything that would be able to protect her from an attack as strong as this one, so it's probably something else. Never mind that, let's focus on the other thing. I'd like to hear more about that poetry the Marquis was reciting to you, I told her. She glared at me, and then turned her head away. I suppose it can't be helped for now, though it was a bit disappointing that the Marquis not only seemed to not blame the princess, but also tried to establish some form of communication with her. This part of the plan was a complete failure. Oh well, let's keep going, I told her and left the ruined mansion aiming for the next one. Princess Firzpov. I wonder how many more should I kill? The woman said. She was quite the unusual one. Even though she had such a gentle and kind expression when we first met, she was actually quite crazy. Even though she had such a strong affection towards her mother, she had no empathy towards anybody else. I couldn't understand her. What do you think, princess? How many more should die? She asked me. I didn't reply. She didn't even seem to view people as anything more than toys. She asked this kind of horrible question without batting an eye. She is unforgiving, and she just creates this horrible opera of death just for the sake of pleasing some non-existent spectators. I can't even pretend to be indifferent to the things she does. I wonder how many I've gotten rid of already, she said as she kicked the head of a viscount from the second prince's faction. It really seemed like killing was something absolutely mundane for her. Her common sense was so out of place that I did not even comprehend how to judge her. And to think that she already killed 7 noble houses that were under my brother's rules. It's unbelievable. Hopefully this should have bought enough time for the Empire to recover, right? She said as she started dissecting the bodies of the soldiers she just killed. What's wrong? She asked. I could no longer endure it, so I turned away and puked while she did her work. Why is she so disrespectful to even the dead? Why can't she treat it as something as mundane as tapping a desk? Why is she like this? I don't understand. Well, I guess I'll have to go back for now. Gotta go to school tomorrow after all, she suddenly said. I was glad to hear it. It means today's hell is finally over. I can hardly believe there is a school she can attend, but I'll just accept it even if it is a lie. My only hope were the last words that Marquis Gawain told me, the bad witch will be thrown on the fire. I'm sure he did something to help me. I'll pray that what he did succeeded. And may he rest in peace. Then, princess, let's go home, she started saying, but was interrupted by a mysterious person. Are you the genocider? He said. Who was he? I never saw him before. Who? And I don't like that name. She replied. Just who is Genocider? Is it her? Oh, me? I'm Ricardo, from the North Cross Alliance. The man replied. Never heard of it. The woman instantly told him. Really? The guild is fairly large and famous though. Well, that's alright. As they talked, lots of people with outfits similar to Ricardo's started crawling out of the ruins all around us. That's quite a few people. What do you want of me? The woman asked him. To recruit you. We're one of the largest chaos guilds, so I think it would be a mutually beneficial deal for you to join us. He told her. I was worried she'd get even more firepower by getting those men as allies, but she instantly told him, don't wanna, it would be a hassle. I was happily surprised to see this unexpected rejection. Gods know what would happen if she were to join a strong group of chaos-aligned beings. That's a pity. Well, in that case, I guess I should tell you that we're also bounty hunters. Since you don't want to join us, I suppose we'll have to park you now. What did he just say? What was that word near the end? I couldn't quite get what he meant. The woman seemed to understand though, and she smiled. Oh? If you wanted to play, you should have just said so from the start. And as she said that, she quickly and without hesitation beheaded him. Why does she smile when she does this kind of thing? Why is she like this? Well then, princess, let us. Oh my. Something strange happened. As Rena turned around to speak to me, a sword pierced her belly. Just what is happening here? I thought I beheaded you. The woman said as she turned her head around to look at the man that just stabbed her. You don't know of it? It's an instant revival item. He replied while taking the sword out of her body. He was smiling at first, but then, his expression turned to one of confusion. Because even though she was just stabbed, Rena was laughing. Why are you laughing? The man asked her. He seemed afraid. Why else? Because I can play as much as I want now, she said without stopping her laughter. Alright everyone, get ready. The guild leader won't go easy on us if we fail. One of the man's allies said, and everyone else in the surroundings seemed to be taking out weapons. But there was no way she'd be endangered by this kind of thing when even Marquis Gowan's sacrifice didn't take her out. It was futile. Chapter 103, The North Cross Alliance, Part 2. Ricardo's Pov. And that's the 5th time, isn't it? The Genocider said after she hit me with her short sword so hard, that not only did I get a mortal wound on my neck, but was also thrown into a building and broke its walls. I didn't expect this battle to be such an unilateral massacre. At least we still have some extra lives in stock though. Or well, some of us have, as a part of my friends already ran out of extra lives. I made sure to study you in advance before the battle, but you're really a monster, aren't you? I told her. To think that watching all video recordings from the generers would help this little. We were able to notice that she got faster the more enemies she fought at the very least, so we didn't take too much of a big team to the battlefield, but we're still unable to do anything. Moreover, she seems to be getting faster each time she kills us too. We can't continue like this, everyone, plan end. I shouted, and my friends shouted the same in response. P-plan? She seemed to be surprised by the screaming. She's so cute. I'd appreciate this sight more if I hadn't been killed so many times already though. But now, she'll face our real power, hive mind, all for one sensorial connection, all for one with this all our stats and buffs will be shared and equalized to the average between all of us. And now, each of us will use our own buffs to increase the power of the entire team. Unshakable determination, necessary evil dictators telepathy body enhancement, dark night and then we all shouted together, all for one. And to top it all off. Oath, I'm the one who jumps to the depths of hell. You're really doing quite a lot, aren't you? The Genocider said while attacking and killing some of my friends. We have to continue, please buy me a few more seconds. Oath, I'm the one who cannot condone your path I finished. We should now have a realistic chance with the power of the oaths. Also, the downside of the HP loss is evenly spread across the entire team, so none of us will die that quickly from it. We may have lost plenty of lives, but now we fight back. Or so we thought. But even as we tried perfectly coordinated attacks with the hive mind helping us cooperate, she kept on dodging everything and damaging us over and over again. Seriously? One of my comrades said in disbelief. It was a perfectly understandable reaction. Moreover, she disarmed me and started choking me with one hand. However, now that the setup was complete, the damage we took was divided equally between us, so I didn't die from her choking. At least for now. Oh my, You're not dying? She commented as she noticed I was lasting longer than expected. Stop it. One of my friends tried to attack her, but she just threw me away at a nearby building, knocked him down, and stepped on his neck. And it seems like she destroyed my Adam's apple with the choking. Putting a temporary stop to our battle though, it seems like some civilians were attracted by the noise. I suppose it's a given since we're at the ruins of a noble household, so they'd inevitably notice its destruction. After realizing the situation, one of them exclaimed, when will the knights arrive? There are people there. Another said. Too many nobles were attacked one after the other, the capital is in disarray. We don't know when the knights might come. A third one shouted. Just what are the princes doing? They should be helping each other, not fighting. A fourth one exclaimed. Princess, are you alright? The genocider suddenly said. She got no reply, but she continued soon after, seems like you're safe, I'm glad. How did she get to that conclusion? Wait, coming to think of it, she was carrying some luggage since the battle started. I commented to myself. So she was not only beating us even with our buffs, but she was doing so while protecting the princess? Just how many CPUs are there in her brain? This is insane. By the way, why did you want to recruit me again? The genocider suddenly asked me. That's strange, doesn't she usually enjoy fighting? She seems to be in a bad mood right now though, and is instead talking. I suppose I should answer, that's because you're overdoing it. I told her. She seemed confused, so I continued, the philosophy of the North Cross Alliance is that we're a necessary evil that corrects poor leaders. We understand that the basic policy of this game is to let players do whatever they want, but if someone causes constant chaos as they see fit, they'll start bothering other players to the point they leave, and this might harm the game's lifespan in the long run. And therefore, we wanted you in order to have complete control over the Chaos faction. I told her, that's disappointing, you're more boring than I expected. She said without a hint of interest in her voice. She also started gripping her short sword tighter. To think our ambition would just bring her disappointment. Come on, think about it. To sacrifice others' freedom for the sake of letting us enjoy the game in the way we want, that's pretty chaotic, alright? I tried to make a better impression, well, that's slightly better. She didn't seem to be convinced, but that's an improvement, I suppose. Or rather, she seemed to smile a bit before charging at us again. Seeing that, I somehow started having fun with this. Chapter 104, The North Cross Alliance, Part 3. Ricardo's Pov. 7, 8, 9. You're not really dying this time around, are you? The genocider asked us as she beheaded my allies a few more times. Oh, did we surprise you? I told her as she continued her slaughter. Even though her attacks are usually able to one-shot us, we're surviving them due to the shared damage. It's a bit weird to put our heads back in place after a beheading though. And you're using healing skills on your own selves instead of trying to heal your damaged allies. I guess you're sharing HP? She totally got us. Well, yeah. I replied honestly. She understood it so clearly, even though this skill hasn't even been shared on the forums yet. The longer the fight takes, the less tricks we'll have available. This is bad. And yet, even as we tried to sneak attack her from the back while putting distractions from the front, nothing ever seemed to work. She just kept on dodging, blocking, parrying, and attacking us with extremely powerful blows that would surely kill us if our HP wasn't shared. Or rather, she actually dealt enough damage to kill us all just now. We ended up bursting into flames as soon as our HPs hit 0 simultaneously. We still got up again due to the revival items, but our stock is running low. And even a surprise post-flame burst attack had no effect on her. She simply used her threads to grab me and throw me away. And then, she seemed tired of playing around. She threw the luggage she was carrying on her back high up in the skies and tied it to the upper part of the ruins of a building with some threads, then started throwing poisonous explosives left and right. We started trying to escape it simultaneously due to the hive mind, but there wasn't much that could be done against poisonous gas. Meanwhile, the NPCs started panicking and running away while swearing at the genocider for involving them in the battle. Can't say I blame them. This is really bad. One of my companions commented. It is indeed. Especially because our status are shared right now, so the poison will stack up really quickly on us all. Seems like we have no choice. Our last resort, let's go. I told them. Alright, we'll be waiting at the temple. My friend shook my hand and got ready for it. We won't be able to win an endurance battle, So we'll have to defeat her with an unparalleled speed and a superb firepower that not even her can endure. It's risky, but we'll have to do it. Limit break, all for one, we shouted in unison. Oh? You still had a trump card? She commented as our skill resolved. All of our stats, buffs and debuffs were added to me at once now. My friend's HP instantly went to 0, but my stats became incredible. The downside being that the HP decrease from the oath plus the many stacks of poison will make me die in no time. There's no time to waste. Prepare yourself, Genocider. Sort of the glittering knight, I shouted as I ran after her and hit her with my skill. It was so fast that even she couldn't block it, and I was able to pierce her chest. It's my win. Ricardo. I'll remember that name. She told me. It's an honor. I replied. To think I would be the first to beat the Genocider. She's even going to remember her name. Even Hans took way longer to be remembered. Alright, now you can't revive anymore. She then told me. Wait, what? I just noticed that she stole my revival item. And then her short sword passed through my neck, and my vision went dark. Renazbov. Your level has increased. You earned skill points. Your karma has dropped. The level of your servants has risen. You acquired a new mobility skill. You acquired a new endurance skill. New title, Personified Chaos. New title, Living Pandemic. Well, that was enjoyable. After checking the notifications from defeating the North Cross Alliance, and Ricardo, I just relaxed a bit while remembering the battle. It was entertaining to see so many new skills in one fight. Oh well, let's get the princess back. I pulled her down with my threads and carefully landed her on the ground. All right, you're safe now. I told her, but she seemed to be quite angry, and shaking, and tearing up a bit and... Oh? Did she leak it? She's glaring really hard at me right now. Should I get you a change of clothes? She seemed to be even angrier at this question. Ignoring that though, I decided to leave the place with the princess in tow. Wait, aren't those knights surrounding us? Since when were they here? And why aren't they doing anything? Rather, aren't they all trembling right now? Oh, the camouflage is off. No wonder they can't move properly. Though coming to think about it, the princess was still able to glare at me even when I'm like this. Isn't that pretty impressive? I never met anyone with a higher raw karma value than mine, so I don't really know how it feels, but I think it's not easy for NPCs to. Oh, right, karma differences don't affect players. I wouldn't be able to know how it feels anyways. In any case, I left the region and activated the camouflage again afterwards. And once we got back to the mansion, I logged out. Chapter 105, Evil Deeds on the Highway. As soon as I logged in, I immediately went to the place that a bunch of Imperial soldiers had been killed at without my permission while they marched towards the capital. Seems like there are quite a few of them left. I said as I looked at their bodies. I suppose the people from the kingdom didn't really want to give them a proper burial, and the players didn't really know what to do with the bodies either. Ah, right, I almost forgot. Let me give you your speech back. I told the princess as I shoved my hand in her mouth, and removing the effect I had put on her that took away her voice. As soon as I did that, she immediately crouched down, started coughing, trembling and tearing up. Does it feel that bad? I suppose I could try asking you about it later. With this out of the way, let's get started. Leaving the trembling princess alone, I started doing the work to rile up the Empire's forces even more against the kingdom. Why are you desecrating their corpses? The princess asked. Her eyes were wide open as she saw me strip the soldiers of everything they had, except their helmets, since it might be hard for them to be identified as Imperial forces otherwise. Such is the fate of the losers. I answered her while using a dagger to carve slurs and words of praise towards the kingdom into their naked bodies. As for their general, I broke all of her teeth, kicked her a few times to put quite a few bruises in her body, then made a white sticky liquid with my hypermedicine skill and threw it all over her body. Lastly, I carved some slurs into her body to make it look like she was used as a toy by the soldiers. I also decided to chop some soldiers' bodies and put their remains in a box with a label that read pig food in it. Unforgivable. The princess finally said something. I was a bit worried that she was still unable to speak, but it seems like the debuff was removed appropriately. What is it? I asked her. Absolutely unforgivable. You're not a person. Now what is she talking about? Not a person. I asked her. Someone like you isn't a woman. I won't even recognize you as a human being. Go to hell, you monster. She started shouting. That's kinda bothersome. I replied. It seems that she doesn't like this kind of play, so she got quite angry. I enjoy it though, so I won't stop. It's a bit annoying to be asked to go to hell though. I mean, if I don't go to heaven, I'd be unable to meet Mom after all. This makes no sense. Why can you have such a normal affection to someone while being like this? The princess said something strange. I don't get the connection you're trying to make. I told her. I suppose I am grateful to Mom and am sad I couldn't spend as much time with her as I wanted. I also know that she loves me and I love her enough that I want to meet up with her again and hug her, so I suppose I definitely have affection within myself, but... I mean, they're not my mom after all. But they have their moms. They also have families, and people that care for them and that they care for. Just like me. Why can't you understand something as simple as that? She exclaimed. I don't quite get what she means though. It's not like I would have any reason to think of their loved ones when I want to take their lives. Princess, are you alright? Me and them are different beings, yeah no? I asked her. What? I don't understand. She seemed confused. Like, they're dead, yet I don't really feel anything, you get it? I tried explaining. That's not it. It's not it at all. It's different. She seemed to be having a hard time articulating her thoughts. Oh, maybe she is talking about stuff like being normal and having common sense? I'm still studying how to apply those, so it can't be helped. I did try to blend in properly at school, but you and Maria said that I was still somewhat out of sync. It's pretty hard to imitate the normal people. By the way, shouldn't you, as royalty, be willing to listen and try to understand the opinions of the minorities? I asked her since things seemed to be going nowhere. As if you counted as a minority or even a human. She shouted back at me. Is that so? I wonder about that. As far as history goes, minorities were just oppressed groups that fought for their rights until they were eventually accepted as a part of society and stopped being legally seen as wrong, so I'm not sure if her argument stands. You're no human. You're a monster. There's no way there is any semblance of humanity left within someone like you. She finally stopped shouting at least. Well, I'm trying my best to blend in properly. I told her. I don't think there is anything I can do here, so let's just wait until she calms down by putting the pig food on the mouth of another soldier. Enough. Stop this. She muttered just loud enough for me to hear. Just wait a while longer, I need to make sure this will make the Empire get serious about the war. I replied. But then. No. Just. She was saying some words that didn't really get any message across. I guess? I made a vague reply because I was unsure of what she wanted to get at. I can't quite get what the ordinary person feels, but I can usually know what reaction they'll make to certain actions from experience. This is the first time I desecrate a corpse in front of someone else though, so I'm a bit at a loss here. Oh well, I just need to line them up properly in the highway and we should be done here. After saying that, I started organizing them in a way that made it look as if they were fighting each other, and I also put some spears and swords piercing the bodies from behind. This should be good enough. I commented out loud after I made sure it looked like they were all chasing the general. Now let's make a statement using your name to further rile up the Empire. You monster. The princess murmured something, but I couldn't quite hear it. I decided to just ignore that, since she seemed to be quite tired already, and make a statement that would fuel their anger a lot. Let's see. Your karma has dropped significantly. After seeing the usual notification, I started wondering about what will be the next play I'll make. Chapter 106, The Enraged Emperor. Pav of one of the Emperor's advisors. Dear Lord of the Pig Empire. In my mercy as the princess, I have always been aiming to protect my people. However, your kind has deviated from the basic ethics of mankind, and seem to behave like lustful beasts who view others as nothing but food. I cannot understand why the imperial pigs are unable to stop exposing their own ugliness and to walk on two legs like a human being. It shouldn't be too hard for a country that has swallowed many nations with actual intelligent beings in them. Though perhaps this kind of language may be too much for a pig to understand, I apologize. Then let me try communicating in a language even pigs might comprehend. Our country will not allow such disgusting beings to roam freely in our lands. The whore that you sent us together with countless meat rods had her advance refused, but as pigs like you seem unable to understand each other, it seems like they decided to just do their things with one another. What a shame, she looked like a proper princess at first. Though since there is a clear will on your side to try expanding the friendship with us, we have decorated your envoys and their meat rods into appropriate bite-sized meat, so that you may eat it if you so desire to cannibalize. From your future owner, Princess Vera von Hermagn. Not much after we sent the first battalion of troops to Hermagn, a letter arrived from the first princess who started the war. We were hoping that the kingdom had come to their senses and called off this whole thing, but a single glance at the emperor's expression as he read the letter made it clear that this was not the case. Prepare. His Majesty said. Your Majesty? I asked him, since his order wasn't clear. Yet his tone was. He was filled with murderous intent. We had not heard it yet, but everyone in the audience chambers knew what was coming. We waited. We waited in silence as His Majesty squeezed that letter with enough strength to make his hand bleed, and then, after what felt like an eternity, he said, loud and clear, prepare for an all-out war. Conscript the commoners, hire mercenaries and mobilize all of our troops. We'll crush the kingdom of Hermagn with every single man we have. This is an imperial decree and it comes into effect immediately. Even though we expected it, the way His Majesty spoke and the scope of it were totally beyond what we imagined. I could see that even our most radical generals who were looking the most forward to the war had nothing but astonishment in their faces. And then, the Emperor continued, prepare my armor. I'll avenge my daughter myself. Why, Your Majesty? Please calm down. I urged him. He had already jumped out of his own throne and seemed about to storm out of the room, but we couldn't have that. The Emperor of all people should be calm at all times, or all will fall to ruin. The general commanding our battalion was Her Royal Highness. We can't be sure if she. As I was trying to convince him that she may be safe, the worst news came at the worst possible time, as a messenger burst into the room while shouting, I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting, but the survivors of our battalion sent against Hermagn have returned. Survivors. Which means that they have definitely lost. Still, we cannot let the Emperor lose it here. Please, Your Majesty, remember that she is a valuable individual for the kingdom. She is worth more alive than dead, so she is probably a prisoner right now. I tried to reason with him. His Majesty stayed silent for a while, until he eventually took a deep breath and said, You're right. It seems like I lost my cool for a second. That was unsightly. Nonetheless, we shall still go forward with the total mobilization. This kind of taunting from the princess cannot be left unchecked. Whatever they did to our men, we'll make sure to pay them back in double. Understood. Everyone in the room shouted in unison, and as you advance, investigate the whereabouts of my daughter and find out if she is safe. His Majesty added. As you command. I bowed to him while saying that. 3 days later, Her Highness was found. The sight of what happened to her and her men made some of our men puke, while His Majesty shed tears of anger. There was no turning back now, the kingdom will pay. KSO employee Pov. Boss. Those psychos are driving me crazy. I told the boss as I finished checking the logs. Oh my? Which one was it this time? Rena or the inviolable area? The boss replied as he moved near me. Both. Look at this. I showed him the important parts of what I had just checked. Well, let's see. OMG. Raffle now. He shouted this out loud. Don't laugh. Why is our boss like this? So, what are we doing about this? We already lost quite a few NPCs that were supposed to give quests, and the situation changed so much that many of the other quests we had planned became useless. He thought for a second before saying, all right, I have decided. Most of our team sighed while preparing to hear what crazy idea the boss would have come up with now. Let's make a world quest. Let the players decide if they want to help the kingdom or the empire. It didn't look like a terrible idea, but there was a problem. Wouldn't the Chaos faction benefit the most from an event like this? Regardless of who wins? It did seem unfair to make an event clearly aimed at Chaos after all. I didn't say we'd make only one world quest. The boss said. He can't be seriously meaning that we're releasing 2 world quests together? I asked. Yeah, rescue Princess Vera, or subdue Rena or subdue the absolutely inviolable area. The boss told us. I get the rescue quest, but we're seriously making a quest putting specific players as the targets? Can we even do that? I asked him. But of course. The one that issues the quests isn't the game's management, but the 7-colored god after all. He is seriously using the game's lore as an excuse for this kind of thing. What's the in-lore justification for it then? I asked him. Rena kidnapped the princess and started a war with the Empire. Meanwhile, the inviolable area killed a bunch of Empire troops for no reason and made the whole situation worse. There's no way the Supreme God of Order would let them act freely after that. He replied instantly, all right. It wasn't that much of a terrible idea, I suppose. And nobody else in the office raised any complaints either, so I guess everyone was in agreement. Well then, I'll leave the adjustments to you. The boss said as he started leaving the room while leaving the hard work to us, as usual. Boss, it's time for the meeting. The secretary appeared just as he was about to go eat lunch. The boss froze on the spot. Is it that time already? He asked. His tone didn't make his statement very believable though. You were trying to escape because you checked the time and knew I was coming to fetch you, weren't you? The secretary accused him. Sorry. He didn't even try to deny it. In the end he had to go to the meeting and to a drinking party with the upper management while having a sign that read I tried to escape from my duties hanging from his neck. Chapter 107, Epic Quest. Hans Pov. Is this it? I asked nobody in particular. You found it, Hans? Ryan asked me while moving closer. We were doing a quest to find an item in Hermaden's capital, but... Is this really it? It looks charred, and I'm also unsure about what it actually is. Well, it does look like the item described on the quest, I said. Is something the matter? Our other party members got closer to us to inspect the item, but... This place is too narrow. Don't get this close while we're in the middle of a back alley, I told them. When I said that, Ryan and Myra moved a bit away, but the others didn't seem to care much. So, what is the item then? Eleanor asked me. I'm not sure, it seems burnt, I can't identify it. I told her honestly while showing the item to everyone. Kellen seemed to be holding back his laughter hard. The girls of the team were wide-eyed. Meanwhile Ryan seemed to be giving me a pitying gaze. Is this item troublesome? I asked. You really don't get it? Kellen didn't bother with holding back his laughter as he made this reply. Well, yeah. I answered honestly. Hans. Are you alright? Cherry asked me with a tone that made it clear that she was suspicious of me. What's up with that? Or rather, aren't all the girls glaring at me right now? Kellen was laughing out loud by this point, so I turned to him. Just tell me what it is already. After his laughter reduced a bit, he told me to just try spreading it out a bit and look carefully at it. I did what he told and... It's some... burnt cloth? I asked. Even Ryan was laughing now, and the glare of the girls was harsher now. Just what's happening here? After laughing enough, Ryan finally clarified the situation. I can't stand this anymore. It's a girl's underwear, you idiot. Eh? Like, they're black panties, you get it? Why are there burnt black panties on an alley? And why is this a quest item? Hans. Eleanor was angry. Wait, it's a misunderstanding, I really didn't know about it. She's totally going to hit me, isn't she? Hans must have been imagining it as if it was the genocider's panties. Kellen said while laughing. What? No. I was just shocked about it. This has nothing to do with that. Where did this even come from? I instantly replied. Besides, I'm no pervert that would go touching women's underwear in broad daylight. Hannes. Give it. Cherry told me at once. You're just pitiful. Myra commented. I'm innocent here, alright? It's not my fault this was a quest item. This is really just a misunderstanding. I tried replying, but was interrupted by World Announcement, Epic Quest, Western Continent Upheaval. Choose between fighting the war to support the kingdom or the empire, and lead one of the sides to victory. Additionally, one may also choose to 1. Defeat the Chaos Apostle Rena who started the war. 2. Defeat the neutral party who has been causing continuous disturbances to both parties involved in the war, the absolutely inviolable area. 3. Rescue First Princess Fira who has been kidnapped. Further details can be obtained by checking the messages that the oracles of the temples have directly sent to all of you. An epic quest. And Rena is the one that caused it? Why is it always that woman? What a bad timing. Ryan said while giggling. Ah. I just remembered I was still holding the underwear. Kellen laughed harder. Stop laughing. I shouted as I threw that underwear on the ground. Let's just look at the quest details, alright? I told them. Everyone instantly agreed and we checked it out. It basically said we should participate in the war to determine the future of the world, or subdue the individuals that Seven-Colored God has been worried about. Or to rescue the princess who Rena kidnapped. Goodness. What is that girl doing? I asked nobody in particular. She really doesn't hold back. Kellen said, finally without laughing. Though he still has an annoying grin on his face for some reason. I can't help feeling amazed by the fact that in the short time we didn't pay attention to her, She abducted a princess and started a war. Eleanor said with a sigh. Well then, Hans? Ryan asked me, what? I asked back. You're the leader, what are we doing? Cherry complimented his question. Isn't it obvious though? I mean, if it feels like it's too much. Does she think I'm still worried down due to finding out Rena was Ms. Akijuji? That was a month ago. I've gotten over that already. I gave them my most confident smile and said, loud and clear, we'll be the ones to beat the genocider. That hasn't changed, and we won't give that spot to anybody else. Well, it's good to know the normal Hans is still around. Myra said. I guess so. Eleanor said while sighing. What's up with that? I was worried he had lost it all. Cherry commented. Why do they have so little hope in me? Alright, let's do this, Hans. Ryan slapped my back as he said that. Yeah, we got this. I replied. Guess you're finally in shape again. Kellen said while giggling. Seems like they really were worried about me actually rejecting the opportunity of beating Genocider in an epic quest. Seriously. Alright. Everyone, I'm sure you're all annoyed at our last loss, so now is the time for our comeback. I exclaimed. Everyone cheered me on after saying that. We were all full of fighting spirit and we'll not lose this time around. Not even to my first love. Chapter 108, Monster Train. When the epic quest came, I was quite taken aback for a small while, but this turned out to be quite advantageous to me in the end. As the players joined the war, the scale rose quite a bit and the battle also got more fierce, making it a lot harder for any side to pull back, as the losses they took quickly grew far more than they originally expected them to. There's no way they'd give up after losing this much. Though it was curious to see how much the all-out warfare here was similar to Earth's. I thought it would be more of a nightly battle thing, but the soldiers quickly started digging trenches and positioning mages as artillery to attack the other side, which led to a situation very similar to what you'd see in World War I. I never expected them to be able to completely nullify the usage of cavalry. I suppose they might still be useful in smaller battles where they don't have as many mages on both sides though. That said, while the tactics employed by both sides were similar, the Empire still had a clear advantage. To begin with, the battlefront was too close to the kingdom's capital already, so the kingdom's soldiers didn't really have the option of retreating, differently from the Empire's. Also, the Empire has a stronger naval presence than the kingdom. Even if the beginner's city and the Belsenstock city do have large ports, they still can't compare to how many ships the Empire's ports can hold. If the Empire is able to cut off the kingdom's supply chain while also pressuring the capital, they surely get an overwhelming advantage. Moreover, Yu told me that the Empire only borders 3 countries, and the other 2 happen to be pretty small, so the Empire only needs to keep a token force at home while fighting this war. And judging by how many troops they sent, they definitely decided to put everything they had in this. It's a risky bet on their end though. A bet that I'll make sure they regret. Time to make my move. Let's send a message to Maria and ask her to record the battle. She already replied? That was fast. Well then, princess, please drink this. I told her. Though she not only gave me no reply, but also clearly had no intention of touching the bottle I just showed her. You don't need to be so wary of it. It's just some medicine to prevent nausea. You'll need that as I'll be moving pretty quickly. She still seemed to be against it, but she understood my point and reluctantly drank it. Then, let's run. I said as I dashed forward while carrying the princess with me. As I ran, I also used some concoctions I created on myself to make me easily lure monsters. It seemed to be quite effective, as the mobs were quickly gathering around me. Satisfied with the result, I decided to go through the forest, since it had a bigger monster density, to lure even more monsters to me. I also asked the familiars I got from the goddess, Hangako and Takeo, to help out on the monster collection task. Hangako had the power to control monsters who are weaker than her, so she was excellent for this job. As for Takeo, he could put fire to the forest in order to make monsters naturally move away from it, which would get them closer to me as I leave the forest, which would make them also get lured. They were certainly nice gifts that I could make good use of. And it's a good thing the maximum number of tamed monsters was raised to 10, as I would be unable to control them together with my original familiars otherwise. By the time I left the forest, the horde of monsters behind me was quite big, so how about visiting the Empire for a bit? Chapter 109, Upheaval in the Empire's Capital. Imperial Soldiers Pov. We're quite free right now, aren't we? I asked one of my seniors. Yeah, because the usual annoying people aren't around right now, he replied. It couldn't be helped that we were relaxing when all the people that yelled at us were out in the war. And well, we had nothing to do here at the capital right now. We basically seemed to exist just to register citizen complaints at this point. Another senior ended up commenting. Well, it's better than being at the battlefield though, I replied. Barring duty is a lot better than dangerous duty after all. I wonder what made the war get this big though. The first princess, who is supposedly still a child starting it out, is strange enough as is, but the emperor was also supposed to be more moderate, so why did we suddenly get into all-out war state all of a sudden? Well, I bet it's only something the higher-ups are supposed to know. I'm fine just staying here as is. As I continued relaxing like that, the door was suddenly opened. What are you all talking about? See, Captain. One of my seniors got up and hurriedly made a salute to our captain that just came in. Sir. The rest of us also got up and saluted him. We weren't really doing anything wrong, but it's a bad thing to be caught idling around, isn't it? Relax, I don't have anything to do either, he told us. Oh, I see, I replied while sighing with relief. That scared me for a second. It's really way too quiet today, the captain said while taking a seat. We followed suit and sat back too. Yeah, can't say I like it much. The senior that was talking about how we exist to register citizen complaints replied. It's almost as if we're at the calm before the storm. Another senior said. Come on guys, don't go raising bad omens. The captain stopped them, and they instantly apologized together. The captain was right, it was better to not mention those things, they really could come to life otherwise. That said, it's not like there is any chance of our army losing anyways. I ended up trying to raise the mood a bit. A senior nodded in response. Yeah, we have way more people and resources on our side. Though the migrants are wild factors that can cause issues. Our pessimistic senior said. Never mind that. We're just on receptionist duty today, so let's just. What's that? The captain was trying to raise the moods again, but he stopped midway. It was as if he had seen a ghost. I and the seniors turned around to look at what he was staring at, but aren't those black silhouettes just a forest? Can you see that? The captain asked us. See what? I ended up replying. It was hard to see with how cloudy the sky was. Although, there wasn't supposed to be a forest in that direction, was there? What the? A senior said. This can't be. They aren't monsters? The pessimistic senior said. And he might be right. The silhouettes are moving. But why are they coming here? The captain got up at once and shouted, enemy attack. And then, his head was blown up by something. Captain? We shouted at once while also getting up, only for two of my seniors to lose their head too. I need to get down and... Before I could react to the occurrences, I felt a strong pain, and then, everything went dark. As we finally got close to the capital of the empire, I used my farsight skill to find the people that were on lookout and instantly sniped them from afar. Then, I started throwing explosives with my monster lures inside the city, so as to make the monsters try going inside on their own. And once we got close enough, I also started using some other drugs on a handful of monsters to make them go berserk, then threw them over the walls too to make them start the attack early on. Immediately after, I threw lots of explosives with more lures at the gates of the city. They didn't break instantly, but they'll sure break before long when all monsters start charging at it. Genocider? Why are you a player? Seemed to have noticed me, but I just killed him, sniped the soldier that tried organizing people to intercept us, threw threads over the wall to make it easy for me to climb it, then used them to help some other monsters too while the gates were still standing. Afterwards, I threw acid at the gate to further damage it, killed some more guards that were coming and waited a small bit until the gate was broken. As soon as that happened, the capital was taken in by an avalanche of monsters. Immediately after, I started running through the outer walls while storing a bunch of explosives on them with my threads. Once that was done, I jumped inside. Chapter 110, Upheaval in the Empire's Capital, Part 2. Takeo, cover the east. Hangako, you go to the west. I ordered my familiars while giving them a bunch of explosives. This way they can not only cause a lot of damage to the city with their current explosives and with the ones I stored all over the walls, but they will also force the Empire to spread their forces more, since now there won't be just me and the monsters, but also Takeo and Hangako attacking the city. Once that was done, I turned my attention back to the soldiers, who were currently trying to extinguish the fires created by the explosives. Only until I knocked them all down, that is. I considered killing them, but it seemed more efficient to incapacitate them instead, as that would force the rest of their allies to come rescue the wounded. Now then. Let's try hitting the Emperor's castle. I empowered an explosive by using meteor shower, accelerate, harden, rotate, and doubling, then threw it with all my might while also increasing the power of the throw with my threads. The result was about as expected. Once the explosive got close to the castle, it was repelled by a magical barrier. It was a bit of a shame, but I'd be more surprised if there was no protection in the castle at all. However, the huge explosive ended up hitting the city after being repelled, and with meteor shower affecting it, the explosion was widespread and made many debris fly everywhere. Well, that was satisfactory enough. Let's go back to taking care of the soldiers now. I jumped over the roofs of the houses and started picking up everyone that looked like a commander with my threads, and threw them at groups of monsters. I also threw poisonous explosives in as many places as I could, in order to debilitate whoever tried getting near. After that, I jumped down from the roofs and went to the city's square. There I found some kids that were still evacuating and some soldiers that were trying to help them out. I picked up the kids, put explosives in their mouths and threw them at the soldiers like usual, since this still seems to be very effective at confusing them, killing them and lowering their morale. The survivors of course started cursing me, but they were also swiftly taken care of once they lost their composure. I also made sure to pick up more kids and use as shields to protect myself against their arrows to make the soldiers unable to keep on shooting, only to put explosives on the children and then throw them towards the guards too, of course. The remaining nearby soldiers were still trying to fight to the best of their capabilities, but they were so out of balance. It was incredibly easy to position myself in ways that made them kill one another once I dodged their attacks. I started laughing. "How dare you?" one of them shouted. "How dare I what? You were the ones that killed one another," I told him while I laughed. But well, I guess this should be enough of a setup. To finish things off, I threw a few more explosives at the area, jumped away a bit, and then picked up my threads to use my blood world. Just like how it worked against the Crown Prince's battalion, the threads pulled in lots of living and dead soldiers from all over the city, brought them all towards the square at a high speed, then made them clash against each other and become a giant mass of flesh and blood. I guess this is now the Red Square. I'm not good with puns, let's not do this again. Once I made this decision, I decided to rush through the square in order to get to my next destination. Chapter 111, Upheaval in the Empire's Capital, Part 3. Emperor's Pov. Just what is happening here? I asked my advisor. Well, you see, Your Majesty. He could hardly articulate a sentence. I could understand what he felt, as my feelings were probably pretty similar. It was just a small while ago that we got the report of a monster horde attacking the capital, and now the magical tool that protects the castle was triggered? How? Is there a dragon on their ranks or something? I pushed him to give me an answer. Well, that is. Why is he stuttering so much? Say it clearly. I understood that as an emperor I should remain calm, but it was hard to keep my cool under those circumstances. The attacker is a human. He finally said it. What? We're clearly being attacked by monsters here. This crazy answer helped me calm down a bit, so it wasn't that terrible, but I wish my subordinates knew when to joke and when to be serious. The human was the one that brought the monsters, Your Majesty. The advisor continued. Was this serious? You mean a human brought over 1,000 monsters to our city? My advisor nodded in response. That thing can't be considered a human anymore. Subdue it quickly. Any sane human would panic when being pursued by this many monsters. It should be impossible to bring them all the way to the capital and to command them to break the gates like this. What madness are we experiencing here? Your Majesty. The second line of defense has been breached. A messenger suddenly came inside the audience chamber to tell me those dreadful news. Tell the survivors to retreat and to try cooperating with the people on the third line too. I was going to give them orders to better organize the defenses, but... Your Majesty, the third line of defense has been breached. Another messenger came to say this. Impossible. Even with a surprise attack against a large force, our troops shouldn't fall this quickly. Your Majesty, we aren't being able to manage the aerial attacks from the enemies. A general intervened. The migrants are saying something about how the enemy has the complete air superiority over us and how our backwards empire can't handle their modern war techniques. I believe it might be possible that the enemy attacking us is a migrant. I sighed. In that case we won't be able to kill them for good, as the gods' blessings wouldn't allow us to. Contact the temple, tell them we'll need their cooperation in sealing this. I started thinking of a way of handling this mess, but before I could even finish my line of thought, the doors to the audience room were destroyed by a loud explosion. Once the dust from it settled in, I could see an unfamiliar woman standing there. A terrifying woman that was dyed red in blood and that showed no sign of being bothered by it. That must be the monster's leader. "Who are you?" One of my royal guards questioned her, but was instantly beheaded by her blade. "Subdue her," a general ordered, and the royal guards charged at her. But all of their blows were easily deflected and they were all down in no time. "That is definitely a monster," I ended up commenting when seeing this absurd scene. "It's unpleasant to be looked at as anything other than a person," she replied while stepping forward, making no effort to dodge the bodies of the men that she just killed. "I already blew up your temple, by the way," she suddenly commented. Was she listening to our previous conversation? Madness. My advisor commented. To think she'd blow up the temple. Does she fear no retribution from the gods? No, that doesn't matter. What matters is appeasing her. We cannot fight her here, not at those circumstances. So, what is it that you desire? Money? Status? Land? I asked her. I don't really need those things actually. She told me. Usually that would make her be praised as a selfless girl for saying this kind of thing, but right now I felt nothing but fear from the horrendous monster that approached me with each step. I felt like it would be futile, but we couldn't simply let her do as she pleases. I gathered my resolve and declared, "Then, I'll give you death." And as I said this, a loud noise echoed throughout the room, as a hole was blown through the ceiling, and a person fell down from it. "Excuse me," he said. "What is this now? Are you the genocider?" he asked the girl immediately after. "That I am. And you?" she replied. To think she is known as genocider. Fitting. Me? The username is absolutely inviolable area. That's a name? What does he mean with username? It's probably some migrant thing, it has to be. Let's just hope he doesn't wish to make this disaster even worse. Oh, I see. I was planning on taking care of you later, but I guess now it's fine. The genocider woman told him. Well, we share the same purpose then. After all. He replied. Seems like they're enemies then. I can now clear the epic quest. The both of them said together. I had no idea what they were saying, and I'd usually refuse to allow others to ignore my presence like this, but perhaps it is for the best that they're caught up in their own migrant matters. Let us pray this madness ends soon. Chapter 112, Power Game. Now that I was already out in the open and about to fight the epic quest target, I figured I could disable the camouflage skills because there was no point in keeping them up. After doing that, I decided to just confirm something before we started. So, you're absolutely inviolable area. If it feels like too much of a hassle to say it, you can just call me Jerusalem. He replied. I'll go with Jeru then. I have no clue what the connection between this area thingy and Jerusalem is, but I'll take it because his name is annoying. So, Jeru, you are in the neutral faction, aren't you? What are you planning on doing after fighting me? After all, his karma will surely raise a lot after our battle due to how low my karma is, and I don't think he'd be fine with just staying at the Order faction after the deed. Oh, that? I guess I'll just kill the princess? He instantly replied. Eh? The princess seemed troubled. Well, that will be that then. I replied. Eh? The princess seemed to be quite worried, but his statement made sense. His karma would definitely fall a lot if he killed the princess after all. I suppose one needs to be willing to do those things if they want to remain in the neutral faction. Well, princess, this might be bothersome, but please stay up there for the time being. I told the princess as I threw her up and tied her to the ceiling. She was quite obviously scared and was also crying, but it couldn't be helped at a time like this. But with the preparations out of the way, then, nice to meet you, Jeru. I said as I unsheathed my short sword. At the same time, Jeru took a huge sword out of his back. Now please die. I rushed towards him while throwing a few poisonous needles at him. He blocked them, but this gave me enough time to get close and hit his giant sword from above, forcing it to make a quick downward swing towards the floor, and due to how big the sword was, this completely threw him off balance and I was able to cut his neck with my short sword. He was able to jump back at the last second and only got a small wound instead of being beheaded though. Not too bad of a reaction, No wonder he was the top player of the recent event. I think this will be fun, I told him. Well, I guess most players can't keep up with this kind of fight, he replied. I nodded, and then started jumping from thread to thread that I set up, until I got close enough to him and used my threads to throw a chandelier at him from above. He was able to cut it in half with his giant sword though, and then he dodged my short sword swing and tried to counterattack, but I jumped back to my threads high up in the air before he could hit me. I also left some poisonous explosives as a souvenir to him. Home run! He shouted as he used his sword as a baseball bat to throw the explosives through the hole in the ceiling that he opened when he came here. I don't think that's how a sword should be used, but I guess it works. Hey, won't you come down here? It's a bit hard to fight like this, he asked me. It's easier to break your foothold like this, though? I answered him. I guess that can't be helped then. Immediately after saying this, he jumped high up towards me. It was fast enough to the point I couldn't dodge the attack, so I had to block it with my short sword instead. The impact of his giant sword paired up with the momentum of his jump made me unable to hold his attack back though, so I was thrown at the wall from the impact. How about that? He exclaimed. I giggled, that's good. I replied by quickly jumping back to the fray with my threads while he was still midair and attacked him with my short sword. He blocked it with his sword, but I kicked him immediately after, and since our positions were now reversed with me being the one with most momentum, I was able to throw him down to the ground easily. He didn't seem to have received much damage from it. Or rather, he didn't seem to even be focusing on the battle much. Instead of trying to attack again, he asked me, "Hey, haven't I met you somewhere before?" "We did?" I asked him back. What's up with this question? "Yeah, at a garden party. Ikijuji Reina," he said. "Oh, so you're also a noble? I think I might actually recognize you if I think about it. Yahiko Kudru, right?" I replied. "That's me, it's been quite a while, hasn't it?" he said. I didn't think I'd have left enough of an impression to be remembered. I told him. "Well, it just draws some attention when you end up being a wallflower in every single event you attend." He replied, "It's not as if I like those." This was getting annoying. On another note, I'm surprised you remember my name, when considering your history of remembering names of other players and all that. He said. I just had to learn the names of the other nobles, it couldn't be helped. I plainly stated, but, well, that's enough, right? So please. Hurry up and die. I shouted as I jumped towards him again with the threads while he also jumped towards me. As we clashed a few more times and started using some more skills, the castle was slowly looking closer and closer to ruins. I could vaguely hear the Emperor complaining about it and an advisor urging him to run, but I decided to ignore that and focus on the battle itself instead. Chapter 113, Power Game, Part 2. We didn't seem to be getting anywhere with our clashes, so I decided to ask my servants to use buffs on me to end this quickly. However, at the exact moment I did that, he also decided to use his own servants to buff himself. To think he also had servants with him, that was surprising. Let's start round 2. Red light of the abyss, I shouted. White light of the inviolable, he shouted back. I gave a chaos attribute to my weapon with this skill, and I guess his skill did something similar. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I just charged at him with my short sword, but he blocked my attack with his great sword. Crushing great sword, he used an offensive skill while swinging his sword. It felt like too dangerous of an attack, so I decided to deflect it with ever-changing stream. Immediately after, I started jumping from thread to thread while throwing poisonous needles at him from multiple directions before jumping towards him again while also using Destruction Game, Slaughterer's Organs. As he jumped out of the way, he also used another buff, Eternal Invincibility, My Glory. I jumped after him immediately after, and swung down my short sword at him from above. He blocked it with the great sword while spinning his body to gain extra momentum from my attack and tried landing a punch on me, but I jumped back to dodge it. Immediately after, I jumped towards him from one of my threads and kicked his ribs. He still tried to hit me as the kick sent him flying, but I was able to lower my body to dodge the great sword blow aimed at my head. Devilish Ruler. I used another buff after that. Spiritual Resonance, Magic Dominion. He followed up with another buff himself, then tried to attack me with his elbow after feinting with his great sword, but my familiar, Inoue, helped me dodge at the last second. We rushed at each other once more and clashed our weapons again. He then let go of his sword to grab my neck and throw me on the ground. The impact made me end up letting go of my short sword. Before he could leverage this advantageous position though, I kicked his knee, making him lose balance. Using this opportunity, I got out of his grasp, jumped above him, and dropped a kick at his head, but he blocked it by crossing his arms above his head. Self-alteration, mad medicine. I kept on buffing myself on every possible opportunity. Absolutely immovable, inviolable area, and so did he. While I was still midair from my attack, he was able to grab my leg and throw me towards the ceiling. I made a light barrier with magic, but the impact was still quite strong and broke a part of the ceiling. Or rather, another part of the ceiling, as rubble has been falling from it for quite a while now. Once I fell down, I tried to kick him, but he dodged my blow, which ended up making a crack on the ground. He tried to punch me, but I slowed his attack down with a barrier and then dodged it before he could reach me. Yamada. I called the servant that possessed my weapon. Fury. As he shouted that, his great sword started moving towards him, just like how my short sword moved towards me. Fury must have been the name of the familiar possessing his weapon then. I'm surprised this isn't settled yet. I complimented him. I gotta say the same. He replied. I suppose it must also be a first for him to fight someone that could match him on a one-on-one battle. This is fun, but I wonder which of us will give in first? Divine possession, Russian. As he said that, his whole body seemed to be covered by a thick layer of iron, making him look just like a golem. Well, I wonder. Divine possession, Kageyama, I said as my whole body started becoming darker and looking like a shade. So you can use that too? He asked. I learned it recently. I replied. You're quite interesting, you know. He said. Aren't you too though? I told him. Well, that's an honor. He commented as we both prepared to move. This battle is quite exciting. Chapter 114, Power Game, Part 3. Hands above. Is it ready, everyone? I asked my party members as we were killing the monsters attacking the capital of the Empire. To think that woman is crazy enough to attack this city with such an absurd amount of monsters. She's crazy. I'm about to reach the kill threshold. Ryan replied as he killed another monster. I'm at the threshold already, said Myra as she helped a child reunite with their parents. Alright, this should be enough. I told them. We're going to the castle then? Kellen asked me while grinning. I checked my own status one more time and nodded. You're going to help out every NPC on the way, aren't you? Eleanor said with a sigh. Well, that's just like Hans. Cherry commented. Oh, come on. I replied. I mean, the NPCs live just like normal humans do. Isn't it normal to want to help them? Besides, in those conditions, isn't it natural to want to save the capital? Even if our original plan was to attack it. Eleanor nodded while heaving another sigh. I suppose that's true. After all, the only thing that could be better than beating Rena would be to beat her while also crushing all of her plans. Then let's go. I shouted and we charged towards the castle. The number of soldiers was clearly way too small for what a capital should have. Just how much destruction did she already cause? We have to get rid of as many monsters as possible on the way there. That said, it was a bit frustrating to compare my progress with the rest of the group. Ryan and Kellen have much higher ag, so they kill monsters much quicker. Eleanor has an unmatched firepower, and Myra can kill aerial monsters far faster than anybody else. Even though my STR is pretty high and lets me kill monsters with only a few blows, the only one whose kill count I can beat is Cherry, our support, who is more focused on saving NPCs than actually killing monsters. Thank you for the help. A child told me as I killed a monster near her. Oh, please evacuate quickly, it's dangerous here. I told her. Alright, mister. She seemed to be asking me something, but we needed to be quick, so I already hurried up to the next monster. Even if we already reached the threshold, it's better to raise the number as high as possible after all. And this also helps cleaning up the city from those monsters that Rena brought, so we definitely can't stop. By the way, do you think you can win? Kellen asked me. Well, I'm not confident I can beat her without this kind of irregularity, but I think there's a real chance now. We leveled plenty and we have our own trump card now, it should definitely be enough. And if not, then we'll just challenge her again. But really, how many monsters did she even bring here? Cherry commented in disbelief as she saved another NPC. It's quite absurd. I replied. I guess she used some sort of monster lure? Eleanor commented. It wouldn't be surprising if she could make something like that. Ryan replied. Hurry up, the Imperial soldiers might close the gate if we take too long. Kellen shouted. I used Earth's rhythm to make a slam on the ground that knocked off a bunch of monsters that were in the way at once, then continued rushing forward. An apostle. A woman shouted. Who? I asked back. That's you, Hans. Myra commented with a giggle. Some other NPCs seem to also be talking about things like apostle and angel while looking at me. Is this because of the karma? It's a bother if they get close to me while we're clearing monsters though, so I use divine soil to keep the monsters away from us. It will get in the way of increasing the kill count, but it's fine as we're saving more people like this. Nonetheless, I told them, please evacuate quickly, it's safer this way. Thank you. A man said. I'll be sure to remember this favor. A woman said. Good luck, uncle. A child shouted. So embarrassing. My friends were laughing at me even. Why am I the only one embarrassed when Cherry is being called Saintess? I shouldn't be the only target of mockery. Don't compare yourself to Cherry. Myra said, as if reading my mind. Damn it. Was all I could say as a reply. We were near the castle though, so it was no time to worry about this kind of thing. There seems to be a rough battle going on over there. Ryan commented while looking at the castle. It seemed to be on the verge of crumbling, and some people that looked like they were captains or generals of the army were running in fear from it. It has to be her. I said. Time for the boss battle. Myra shouted. Well, she was recognized as an official raid boss. Eleanor commented. She's really amazing. Kelvin said. She's certainly quite famous. Cherry added. It's only natural for her to be recognized after all this, I suppose. Ryan said. And he is right, I mean, she even got her name on an epic quest. We have to knock her down this time around. We won't lose. She's still just a player in the end, that's no raid boss, and there's no reason for us, or any other player, to be unable to beat her. I told them all, let's do this. We'll activate the skills we have prepared while we were saving the city. Everyone gathered around in a circle to start it. Guardian Ryan and Eleanor said while putting both of their hands in the middle. Our skill that increases our Agandvit for each monster we have killed during a certain period of time. Loveliness Myra and Cherry said while putting their hands in the middle too. Our skill that buffs us based on the number of people we have helped in a certain period of time. It increases our max HP, the recovery we receive from skills, and also gives a built-in HP recovery effect. You're gonna kill me, Hans, do I really need to say it? Kellen seemed to be annoyed, but... Of course, hurry up. I told him while putting my hand in the middle. He begrudgingly did the same. Hero, we said in unison while raising our hands all together. Prepare yourself, Rena. Chapter 115, Power Game, Part 4. Kageyama, stretch. As I said that, my short sword was covered by a black shadow and stretched to the point it became a nodachi. It was a bit hard to deal with a great sword with my current weapon, so I figured I'd adapt. Guess I lost the reach advantage. Jura said. Please rest at ease that I do have both dagger art and sword art skills. I told him. It's good that you're not holding back. He replied. Immediately after, I rushed towards him and swung the odachi towards his head. He tried dodging it, but I ended up still cutting his arm off. I also ended up cutting a part of the castle's walls by accident. That's quite sharp. He said. And you're quite fast even in this form. I replied. I really thought I'd be able to behead him with this attack, but instead I not only got just his arm, but he also was able to cut off my leg with his greatsword while he dodged my attack. It wasn't much of an issue for me though, since I just attached my leg back with my threads and the shadow. And apparently not for him either, as he attached his arm back as if it was a completely normal thing. He really feels like a golem right now. After reattaching our limbs, we clashed with each other again. He made a huge swing with his greatsword that made the ruined castle tremble. I dodged it and tried to behead him again with the odachi, but he used the inviolable Iron Fortress skill, which seemed to greatly raise his defensive power. My slash ended up leaving only a shallow cut on his armor. Roaring thunder, he shouted, and a lightning blew me away, throwing me towards the wall. I didn't expect him to be able to do this kind of thing. How troublesome. I'm not used to having this many slashes hit me. He commented. That's because I had an opportunity to cut you. I told him while I got up. This is really great, isn't it? He said. It's certainly quite fun. I replied. He smiled at that reply, before lifting a pillar of the castle with one hand. I suppose he is also bothered by the fact neither of us landed a decisive hit yet. Hurry up and die. He shouted as he threw the pillar at me. I used my Odachi to cut a part of it away and jumped through the ruins and my threads while throwing explosives at him. Similarly, he started picking up big pieces of rubble to throw back at me, making us both need to dodge projectiles while throwing our own. Just as we both found a clear opportunity to jump towards one another, an unexpected occurrence threw our plans off balance. Don't you two main targets go offing each other out? It's been a while, Hans. I told him as I dodged his axe swing. An acquaintance of yours? Seems like things are getting crazy here. Juru commented. It was nice to see him again. Since we hadn't fought since the event, it seems like they have grown even stronger now. I'll get your head this time around. Hans shouted as he and his party started attacking me and Juru, making this a three-way fight. They didn't seem to be using any buffs though, yet they were keeping up with us. I suppose they found out our location in advance and buffed each other before arriving. Try and get it. I replied. Sorry, but she is mine. Juru intervened. I'll kill both of you psychopaths then. Hans exclaimed while attacking me again. There were also his party members attacking the both of us, as well as me and Juru attacking each other. It was getting tough to deal with all that at the same time. To think that the top players of each faction would fight off at once like this. The spear guy that was with Hans commented. It was certainly unexpected, wasn't it, Kellen? Their mage said. I suppose we should be the top ones when considering how much we did at the last event. This is fun. I'll kill all of you. I told them. Well, what to do now? If I kill Rena and the princess, I should break even, but if I then kill those new people? Juru commented, hey, can I go home already? The spear guy said, don't say that now, Kellen. The sword guy replied. It was exciting to think on how to kill them all. This was really way too fun. Chapter 116, Power Game, Part 5. Cherry's Puff. Holy wall! I casted a spell to block one of Rena's projectiles that was aimed at us. It's amazing that she can still find opportunities to attack our party's rearguard in the middle of this hectic battle. Damn it, I can't hit her. Hans complained. Don't worry, none of us can. Myra commented. We certainly didn't expect absolutely inviolable area to be here together with Rena. And well, for him to be just as powerful and crazy as her. I never thought I'd see someone being able to perfectly block every single arrow Myra shoots at him. It's almost as if his body reacts automatically to attacks. Kellen tried attacking absolutely inviolable area, but not only he had his attack blocked, but he was also hit by the great sword and was sent flying. Eleanor had to throw some flames at absolutely inviolable area to stop him from pursuing Kellen while I healed him. This is tough. Hey, you crazy woman, where did you put the princess? Hans suddenly shouted at Rena. I suppose it was a bit weird that even though she had kidnapped the princess, we hadn't seen her anywhere so far. Was she hidden somewhere? Maybe she is locked inside a dark basement? She replied by saying, that? She's in the sky. The sky? Does she mean heaven? She can't seriously have killed her? She was only 10 years old. You little. Hans was outraged. Don't lose your cool now, leader, we need you if we are to win this. Like, over there. Rena pointed upwards. Wait, she meant the sky, literally? The princess was tied up to a part of the building that hadn't crumbled yet. There were lots of threads holding not only her, but that part of the castle in place as well. It would have probably already crumbled otherwise. How could she possibly hang a small child up there like that? That's inhumane. Do you even have a heart? Hans asked her. I suppose all of us felt that this was too much even for her. I'm a person, so I should have a heart. She replied bluntly, I'm not talking about that. Hans was understandably angry at her reply. Either she was diverting the topic of the conversation, or we were completely unable to establish any form of communication with her. Regardless, it seems like absolutely inviolable area made use of Hans' loss of composure and landed a huge blow at him. Hans was able to barely avoid being hit fatally at the last second, but he definitely took a lot of damage. I instantly cast a Dextra heal at him to help him recover. Thanks, Cherry. He said as he got up and went back to the fight with absolutely inviolable area, while Ryan and Kellen intercepted Rena who was going to attack him from behind. She quickly blew them off though, and was about to stab Hans, but he dodged at the last second and made her blow hit absolutely inviolable area instead. Though he was able to partially dodge it and didn't take much damage either. You guys are really fun. Rena shouted. I don't want to hear that from a psychopath. Hans replied as he dodged an attack from Rena that blew up a whole column of what was left of the castle. Those two psychopaths and Hans seemed to be fighting all by themselves, while Kellen and Ryan couldn't even try to meddle in. Me, Eleanor and Myra weren't able to do much either. We were supposed to be a party, right? Kellen seemed to be down. Yeah, my pride as a gamer is crumbling. Ryan felt the same. Don't feel that bad, we're still supporting him to the best of our capabilities. I told Ryan. Also, Hans was still having a hard time keeping up with those two monsters. I guess so. Ryan replied as a huge chunk of the castle fell off from a clash of Rena and absolutely inviolable area. Cherry, Eleanor, I'll make an opportunity for you. Hans suddenly told us. Got it. I instantly replied. Guess that can't be helped. Eleanor also seemed to have gotten his idea. The both of us used every last bit of MP we had left to put as many buffs as we could in our vanguard while also chugging MP potions to recover it. Then, we also made the strongest holy wall we could to block off Rena and absolutely inviolable area from getting in the way. Even then, it wouldn't hold for long if they could freely attack it, so Ryan and Kellen went back to the fray to stop them, while Hans also fought to the best of his capabilities to hold them down, and they were clearly having a better chance now. However, even with their best cooperation, it was hard for them to do much. Absolutely inviolable area was still really agile even with that golem-like body, and Rena was well. Rena. Both of them also had an absurd firepower that would definitely kill anyone that they landed a clean hit against. Absolutely inviolable area being here was beyond my expectations, but Rena, I'm totally going to get you this time. Hans told her. I'm looking forward to it. She replied. And now, we'll clear our quest's objective, and defeat Rena.